Quickly into space, Concepcion, blockers in front, and here he goes. KC says TD.
This is 365 Sports.
30 seconds of the quarter. Second in the end zone. Douglas. Touchdown, Texas Tech. What a drive.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sorsby the key, what a cut! Broken ankles! See ya!
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Another first down for Vandy. Pressure off the edge. He steps up, and now he's going to run for the end zone and score. Diego Pavia.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Brown takes another shot. Wide open Koger. Touchdown, South Florida. 63 yards.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we are, and here we go on this Tuesday afternoon, 365 Sports. I'm David Smoak with Paul Catalina and also with Craig Smoak. By the way, yesterday when I announced that Corey Mickelson had won the North Star Funding Pick'em from Rochester, New York, and watches our show and started watching him back when Oklahoma, Texas decided, and the news came out that they were leaving for the SEC. So that was cool to see from Corey. The Visa card from North Star Funding Partners is on the way. A lot of things to get to. Good afternoon. Hope you've had a really good day. Here's an interesting note. Greg Wrubell, who, of course, the voice for BYU, put this up on his Twitter feed last night. I thought we'd kind of update you on the Big 12 and what can happen, who can clinch this week. This from Greg Wrubell. BYU and Texas Tech are the only programs this week who can clinch a spot in the 2025 Edward Jones Big 12 Football Championship. Tech clinches with a loss by Arizona State and a BYU win over Cincinnati, or with losses by Arizona State, BYU, and Utah. BYU clinches with a win against Cincinnati and losses by Arizona State and Houston, or with a win over Cincinnati and Arizona State loses and Utah wins. So those are not that many options, but it's not quite that easy. It's a little complicated, but there you are with trying to clinch. Texas Tech has the weekend off.
Yeah, well, Tech has the week off, so if they clinch, it's likely that all that Michigas happened. But all they got to do is just win the next one, right? And then this gets easier as it goes along. So, and it kind of shows you that realistically, there's just two teams in this race.
Yeah, this is one of those that eventually math takes care of itself. There can be a big, huge bump in the road, but it just eventually that math and physics will take care of itself, so to speak, with the standings.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes for the college football playoff rankings as well, that a lot will be decided these next 2 weekends, but there will still be, some, I guess, disagreements and some tight races for some of those last couple spots in the field, I suppose. But in the Big 12, I saw where quite a few people, just for the sake of fun and the chaos of it all, were going down to like the fifth tiebreaker, saying, well, there's a scenario this weekend where you could have 7 teams tied for. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not realistic. It's fun to think about, and it would be just wild to have to sort through all of those tiebreakers. And Lord knows we had quite the tiebreaker discussion at the end of the year last year with this league. But I think it's pretty clear-cut who the best 2 teams are. I think it's pretty clear-cut who's going to be playing in Arlington, and I think it's pretty clear-cut that's going to be a rematch of Texas Tech and BYU. There's a chance that I guess BYU could stumble at Cincinnati. There's a greater than no chance for sure, but Cincinnati hasn't been looking good as of late. And I think with BYU's defense, that's just going to be a lot for Sorsby to handle. You give the Bearcats a chance, no doubt about it. I'm not going to completely write them off by any means, but personally, I don't see that one happening, and I'm expecting that we're looking at a clinching scenario this weekend. And if not, I think there'd be like one line next week that says this is what would have to happen, and it would be basically impossible as well. So, if you're a BYU fan, if you're a Texas Tech fan, if you haven't already, and you are planning on being there if your teams are going to play for the title, then I think you should start booking your tickets and your hotel rooms for Arlington, Texas, because I think that's pretty much as much of a guarantee as it can be at this point.
It's not the next one, Brandon, so hold off on the next image. But Cole Kublik put this out there. Percentages of who's going to play in the SEC championship game. Per ESPN Analytics, Alabama, Georgia, 38%. Alabama A&M, 33%. Georgia A&M, 19%. Georgia Ole Miss, 10%. Those are the options. Those are the odds for the SEC championship game.
Yeah, it's a muddled race right now. And I did see, and I'm sure you guys saw this as well. I don't know if this is one of the various messages we've traded back and forth, but there was a graphic by somebody, and I just saw it in passing. I noted it, and then I just kind of moved on from it because I was actually doing something else at the time. But there was a graphic, maybe it was from ESPN or Fox, about the chaos in the SEC and how it's a sign of how great they are. And then you look on the flip side, and whenever it's like 6 teams in the Big 12 or in the ACC like right now, or anywhere else for that matter, the Big 10, theirs is a little bit more clear-cut. It's like, all right, it's Ohio State and Indiana. They're on a collision course, and if somehow one of them slips up, then maybe something could happen. But it's pretty clear, like, we're looking at Buckeyes Hoosiers. That's the clearest race of them all right now. And then the Big 12, I think, is right there as like a 1B of like, all right, it's BYU and it's Texas Tech. And, yes, there's a better than zero chance it could be somebody else. But those two look like you can go ahead and, like I said, start planning your trip to respective sites. But, yeah, in the SEC, it's a mess, and it's fun, it's entertaining, but it is funny how that's portrayed by some people as this is the depth of the league, and this is the hierarchy of how many great teams there are. And then you go like, well, what about over there? It's like, oh, all those teams suck. They all beat each other up, and they're not very good, and nobody's elite, and whatever. And it's hilarious to see the propaganda, and it's in some ways, yeah, it is true. I'd take those top 6 or so teams in the SEC, and I would match them up against the top 6 or so teams in the ACC, and there's probably a good chance they go 6-0 or at like worst 5-1. But still, that's just hilarious how it always pivots to a different narrative as it fits. And that's one right now that you're seeing is, well, they got to have like 7 playoff teams because look at all this parity that's ongoing. But you look at it elsewhere, it's like, ew, parity, gross. I don't like that.
The Big 12 should be like, well, the Big 12 would be like, yeah, we should probably have 2 just by the same logic. And they're like, stop being.
No, exactly. BYU's not that good.
Come on. No, they're not good.
I don't think you need to be listening to them.
Yeah. I am. And look, it's worked on all of us at different times in our lives. But I've become fascinated, particularly recently, maybe it's as I've gotten older, with the way that we fall for propaganda so easily as a people. And not like, look, the SEC's earned a lot of it, but this was also a very calculated effort for many years of them to, make sure that they were promoting themselves better than everybody else was. And they didn't even, at the beginning, it probably didn't start out as some sort of sinister plan to get more teams in. It was just like, hey, the Big 12 does nothing but fight with each other. The Big 10 has an old commissioner that doesn't want to change anything. And the Pac-12 is out there on the West Coast, and they play half their games after all of our people are in bed. So we kind of have an advantage here to promote what we're doing, and then it's turned into this. But the other leagues were so far behind it that now, I mean, you almost like it would take 100 years to catch up.
Well, we've talked about this, and the easy answer is the propaganda, if you will, or ESPN promoting them worked because they ripped off like 15 straight national titles. So they earned all of that. But yes, there has been an element of that propaganda that I think, especially when there's years like the last couple where they're not winning it and yet still acting as though they did. But this is not an anti-SEC thing, me bringing that up. It was more or less, I just found it humorous and pretty predictable that it's just viewed differently when it's from another angle. And I just find that funny because it's just so obvious that there is this bias, and it's not necessarily the media corporations, although that is some of it, but it's just, it's watching on social media how like you look at it from this angle that you don't like and you hate it, and you look at it from that angle when it's you and you love it. And it's just funny how people can just kind of flip their reasoning on that. But like I said, they definitely have a top row of teams, Ole Miss to Texas, not so much Texas, but I mean, they're technically still in the playoff hunt. Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, etc. Like, they have a reason to feel like they have a bunch of really good teams. They do. But it's just, parity's good when it's for you, but it's not when it's for somebody else, and it's just funny.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the notes I saw, the percentages of Miami getting into the college football playoff are much less than UT, and UT has the 3 losses with yet another game, which they will be a pick'em game with A&M at home. That's if Miami wins out. Now, interesting story out of Tempe, Arizona. Kenny Dillingham has made it very clear that he's not going anywhere. He has said it. He has basically said it. And then last week he said it again, that he's staying at Arizona State. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not something that can happen that would change his mind, although I think he's pretty much entrenched. This is a story that it depends on who you believe. Arizona State quarterback and their star, Sam Leavitt, who's been out for a while, on 3, Pete Nakos and Steve Wiltfong both saying that his return to the program is not questionable like an injury report, but doubtful. Leavitt's camp is actively shopping the talented passer at a high level, which then brought this response on Twitter from his brother, Dalen. Denies this report. This is a back and forth. Blake Neiman, he covers Arizona State. Y'all are a joke. Addressed this right before Pete released the news. He never, if you look in that background, says he's not leaving. He said he's still trying to maybe figure things out. But there we are with a little drama. I hate it if Leavitt does leave. I get it if he does. But that could be a story that obviously affects the Big 12 next year.
Two things jump out.
Unless he's going to somebody else in the Big 12.
Yeah. It affects college football.
Yeah, it affects college football next year for sure. 2 things jump out to me here. One, like, I understand that this happens now every year, and that's, fine for the player. If Sam Leavitt makes more money than Arizona State can pay him and it's life-changing, then go ahead and do that. And he's going to make the decision that's best, that he feels is best for him. But it sucks if he's not back at Arizona State, because Kenny Dillingham has done a great job of coaching him up. And I'm not sure where you're going to go to definitely get better quarterback coaching than Kenny Dillingham. Like, if my goal is the NFL, I want Kenny Dillingham. I mean, that's who I want. I mean, he's got skins on the wall of players he's coached, and he's not even been doing that this long. He's a very young coach. So right now he's one of the best quarterback developers in the country. And so if you feel that maybe you've gone as far as you can with Kenny Dillingham, that's fine. I just don't know if there's another guy out there that's going to take you a little bit further to get you higher in next year's draft. Is that if that's what you want? And look, they were completely besieged by injuries this year. It's not just Sam Leavitt; it's Jordan Tyson. It's a lot. Obviously Scadaboo is playing for the Giants now, so that's a whole different thing. But I mean, they were still, if he's healthy, they're still contending for the conference, maybe on the outside looking in like Utah is right now. But if Sam Leavitt's out there playing every game, I mean, I think that they're sitting in a spot where the last couple of weeks, if they get help, they can get in and win their games. So I'm not sure what he's chasing, but I do know that like risking it and not having Kenny Dillingham as your coach, that's a pretty big one.
I think he's chasing money, Paul.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, I know
he's chasing money. Like pretty clearly is what he's chasing is the money. Yeah, I got a few thoughts on this too. He's going to be great in Baton Rouge with LSU head coach Lane Kiffin next year. There's a guy who can go toe-to-toe with Kenny Dillingham as far as quarterback coaching, I suppose. And maybe there's a couple of others out there. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I, for one, think that this just sucks for college football if you have a guy like Sam Leavitt who's now just going to be the next hired gun who gets to like his final year, and then he's just going to go to Miami to be the next Carson Beck and the next Cam Ward and the next just like, all right, what senior quarterback do we want to go buy this year and plug in here for Mario and go flirt with the playoff? It sucks for Arizona State. Obviously, they're certainly losing Jordan Tyson to the NFL. He's a top 10 type pick right now. And I thought Leavitt would be a first-round pick or someone who at least was in that conversation, and he was there for a little while, but injuries have derailed that. And now recent mock drafts, I mean, those are not totally accurate at this point, but there's a couple of quarterbacks that are getting first-round love at this stage, and it's Fernando Mendoza, and it's Fernando Mendoza, like that's kind of the guy right now that's like the guaranteed who would be in the first round of the NFL draft this year. And you thought that maybe there would be some others. Ty Simpson would be the other one that I would say is like guaranteed a first rounder at this point. But besides those two, I don't think there's a guy that's just like, yep, he's definitely in the first round. Now, by March, there could be 4 or 5 of those guys. But right now, I think those are the two you go, yeah, that's almost a guarantee. And I would have thought Sam Leavitt would have been in that group. So when I first saw this headline today, I thought, oh, well, he's going to the NFL. What is everybody freaking out about? Like, yeah, of course he's leaving Arizona State. He's going to go play pro football. That's what I thought when I saw the headline. And then I dug deeper into it. I'm like, wait, he's actually sticking around and maybe just going somewhere else. And if that is the case, then whoever gets him is going to get a great quarterback so long as he gets his health back, which I'm assuming he will over these next few months. But I think that just absolutely sucks in a variety of ways. I think it sucks for the mercenary side of college football. Not saying he shouldn't be able to go earn his money. That is a completely different conversation and one we don't need to have because, yes, he deserves to go get his money. But just for the look of it, I think it sucks for college football. And this is also, despite what Kenny Dillingham is saying about his alma mater and sticking around, this is a reason why you would leave Arizona State eventually because you can't keep guys from bigger schools. So you build it up, and then they just come pick you off when you get to that point where you got your guys that can help you win. And so I think it sucks from that standpoint that if Kenny Dillingham's at a spot and he's winning, he's doing everything he's supposed to be doing, but year after year, suddenly you're losing your quarterback to Miami or to whoever, that could maybe be a reason why you eventually go, yep, I'm going to have to go take that bigger job here eventually. So I know that's a lot of just what if, but that's what I think about. Now, for Sam Leavitt, I mean, go get your money, boo-boo. I don't blame him necessarily. I think just the complete lack of loyalty sucks. But then again, he was a Michigan State guy before he was an Arizona State guy. So he's already been in the portal once. He wasn't a Kenny Dillingham guy from day one. He was a Spartan, and then he became a Kenny Dillingham guy at Arizona State. So it's not like he was homegrown and raised, and that's all he dreamed of was being a Sun Devil. But, yeah, it sucks if that is, in fact, what turns out to be the case. I know his brother's downplaying it, but that's exactly what I would expect if you weren't wanting that story out there right now. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Two quarterbacks, there were like 5 or 6 initially back 3-4 months ago that you thought would be first-round picks. And there will be, whether it's Nussmeier or whoever, that will climb back into it because of off-season workouts and because of the combine or whatever else. But, yeah, it does suck. But then you look at this, and And Arizona State is a big school, but they're trying to get to be bigger than just the campus and the sprawling, overall, all of what they have. It's not one of the top. Last year they were, but you're right when it comes to what Leavitt could do there compared to what he could do at one of 5 or 10 other schools.
I don't think we need to be worried about being polite. Arizona State's not Michigan or Ohio State or Miami or schools like that.
That's exactly
no, I know
what
that, but I'm saying I don't think we need to go like they're great and they're good and everything, but they're not those schools.
No, they're not.
And that's just stating the obvious.
Yeah,
and
you're
so,
reiterating what I just said.
Right.
I want to make sure you understand. That's what I meant too.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I don't think we need to even say that at this point. Like, I think it's just obvious that that's the case, and we don't need to worry about hurting Arizona State fans' feelings that, like, you're not quite there. So, yeah, I mean, they're clearly not one of those programs, and yet they are on the uprise, and he's a big part of the reason why. And so I hope Kenny Dillingham stays there and builds that thing up, and Sam Leavitt would be a part of the whole run there. But if money's talking or he's just in the mood for a change, then that's his prerogative, and that's his choice to make ultimately.
Had ASU followed up last year and they were in the mix to play for the Big 12 title at, let's say, 9-2 or 10-1 this year, would it change?
Well, I mean, part of the reason they're not is because he's been hurt.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's hard to extrapolate the two things. Like I said before, I think if he's playing healthy all year, they're probably not in this spot right now. But I digress from that. To follow up Craig on the NFL draft, I've gone to 2 of my favorite, like, little mock draft engines, these draft nerds that, like, spend all year on this and change the rankings all the time. Right now, and this is if people would declare, the only 3 first-round quarterbacks they would have would be Mendoza, Simpson, and if Dante Moore declared. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's any guarantee of that either. No. But he's only been starting for a year. But he can, because he's a redshirt sophomore, declare. I don't think he's going to. But then, if you get down to the guys who their eligibility is out, like Garrett Nussmeier, they rank him 113. Carson Beck, 144. Josh Hoover, 189. Baron Morton, 200. Cade Klubnik, 211. Drew Aller, 235. So it's not like this is the quarterback draft to end all quarterback drafts. Now, if Lenora Sellers decides to declare and not transfer out of South Carolina or come back next year, then I have a feeling because of his, what he's going to do in the workouts and the combine, that he will shoot up those charts regardless of his performance.
Yeah, we're going to do Anthony Richardson all over again and just say, hey, the tools are there. He hasn't proven anything, but
they don't ever learn from that.
I would hope they do eventually, but you're right. Probably somebody to go like he's got the potential. So yeah, maybe he would be in there. But I think it's also, and I saw others point this out as well, and it was the first thing I thought of. The Kenny Dillingham video where he's talking about all the local businesses and trying to drum up them to, why would you not sponsor these guys and have like the tire of the week for the offensive line or whatever examples he was giving. You catch my drift. And I think the timing of that being just yesterday is maybe coincidental, but I feel like it's probably not fully coincidental. So I don't think it's a money thing necessarily, unless somebody's already out there dangling so much money. And look, there's far worse quarterbacks that were getting millions of dollars in the portal last year. So I can imagine what a really good quarterback like Sam Leavitt would probably command. You're talking about the Carson Beck type guy there as far as the price tag goes, or players like that over these past couple of years. So yeah, he stands to make a lot. And I don't know that ASU can afford to pony that up, but I just did find the timing of Dillingham talking about the NIL locally to be extra of interest with the news that broke today. So I think Pete Nakos knows what he's doing, and his brother can push back and then put it out there publicly all he wants, but they're not going off of completely nothing whatsoever. They are hearing that.
He's also the one, what was the report, Craig, that he had that everyone, there's no way that's true, and then 2 days later it was.
Right, that's typically what happens. So, yeah, I think it's a situation that really stinks to be in if you're Arizona State. And I do believe, to Paul's point, that if he had remained healthy full throughout the season and Jordan Tyson was healthy, I think they are in that group of Utah, BYU, and Texas Tech. I think it's those 4, but really it's just those 3 now. And you could say 2 since 2 of them beat the other one. But I think as far as the best teams who could actually go into the playoff and maybe make a little bit of noise, Tech and Utah and BYU, depending on the draw, can and would all do that. And I think Arizona State at full strength was capable of being a team that could go be in that mix as well. But yeah, with Leavitt injured as often as he has been, Jeff Sims has been a great story these last 2 weeks. Kudos to him. But yeah, they're not a playoff contender with no Sam Leavitt pulling the trigger.
Yeah. By the way, since Craig brought it up, would you guys like to hear the menu that I curated for Arizona State? Do we have time to do it?
Where are we on the time? Yeah, we can because
Okay.
We have Ari at 3:40. We'll want to make sure we
Okay.
hit him on time.
So in the interest of synergy, we'll jump this up. But Kenny Dillingham was saying every restaurant should have an Arizona State item. So I just took Garrett, what was it, 15, 20 minutes today while I worked on this, 15, 20 minutes or so, and I just made a menu for the Sun Devil Cafe, we'll call it, in Bar and Grill, Sun Devil Bar and Grill. Okay, the first thing, the Dillingham sandwich. Layers of ham, American cheese, and house-made dill pickles on a sub roll with a side of hot dill pickle chips.
Is there not a graphic? You don't have the menu up?
We have a tweet string of it too, so
okay.
You can go on Twitter and follow along.
Okay.
The CJ Fight to the Death Burger, which is 3/4 pound patty, 6 slices of cheddar cheese, 6 slices of bacon, a fried egg on a brioche bun served with chili cheese tots topped with jalapenos.
And a slice of brisket. He would want brisket.
Okay, you would want brisket.
He's a
okay,
Texas
we'll put
kid.
that on there. Yeah. The Jake Plummer Portobello mushroom sandwich. A portobello mushroom on a potato bun with grilled onions, snake sauce, and melted cheese.
Snake sauce? Like Venom?
Yeah, whatever. It's our house-made steak sauce.
Okay.
The Jordan Tyson Supreme Elite Pizza. All the toppings you can throw on plus extra cheese.
Yeah.
He's that good, okay?
Yeah.
The Marcus Oroz con pollo.
I like it.
Yeah, okay. The Darren Woodson hard-hitting chicken sandwich, fried or grilled chicken breast on a jalapeno bun with hot buffalo sauce, served with spicy fries or tots.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The Danny White chicken Caesar salad, and I had to put him on there because he's a friend of mine. A massive chicken Caesar salad served in a white bread bowl.
The white, okay.
Yeah.
Who's the restaurant that serves like soup in a big piece of bread?
Panera?
That's like McAllister's.
Yeah, McAllister's.
McAllister's, yeah. Okay. All right.
Another Hall of Famer at Arizona State, Luis Indejas.
Kicker.
Okay. The Luis Indejas kicking chicken fajitas.
Kicking chicken. Okay. I like it.
The Terrell Suggs, they call them sizzle. So the sizzling beef fajitas.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also get a combo. Here's one I know, Smokey, you will appreciate as someone who knows
and you
the
need
old
to put a little
Cowboys.
barbecue on the Terrell Suggs sandwich in honor of inside joke.
The Jim Jeff coated chicken.
Yes.
Smothered chicken served over mashed potatoes with a side of corn on the cob. One of the best sides that we have at the Sun Devil Bar and Grill, the Curly Culp fries.
Yeah, Curly Culp, Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
Hall of Famer. Darren Woodson should be, but he's not. But yep.
My favorite dish on the menu, the Cam Scata Burrito. Steak, rice, cheese, beans, and all the toppings on a massive flour tortilla. Also comes in the Scata Bowl or in Scata Baby size.
Ah, very nice.
Scata Baby.
Nice.
I like it. I like it.
And then our cocktails are the Pat Tillman, straight up bourbon whiskey. Proceeds from the Pat Tillman go to benefit veterans charities.
There you go.
The Whizzer White Russian. Okay. And
former Supreme Court justice, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And the Shane Collins, a Tom Collins, but with an orange instead of a lemon slice.
I like it.
Yeah.
We got to get
a Charlie Taylor in there, but I can do this with maybe some other schools as well.
How in the hell did you forget him?
Well, I couldn't think up something that was appropriate for him, and Andrew told me to stop at 14.
Yeah.
I was going to say, damn, man, how long is the freaking menu? I think you covered it all.
Charlie Taylor has to be added.
Go get in contact with the Big 12 for the eats or whatever they do, because that's way more creative ideas for them to try to integrate into their Arizona State one item. I think you got them covered for like the next decade plus if the Big 12 still exists with Arizona State as part of it. But yeah, that's interesting stuff, and a lot of that sounds like it could be a part of a nice little sports bar like Dilly's in Tempe or something along those lines. We'll see. But Sam Leavitt gets nothing if he leaves Arizona State in the transfer portal. I say that. He gets no item whatsoever.
No, you take it off and replace it with the Hall of Famer and Charlie Taylor, who was tough as nails, born in Grand Prairie, and then, of course, played at Arizona State. All right, Paul, very well done. I want to see a menu. Got to get Andrew or someone to make the Andrew.
It's on Twitter. You can go on Twitter under 365 Sports. Andrew just said also the link to it is in the chat right now if you'd like to see it. So
I'll try to get it in the chat. Oh, it is in the chat. All right.
In the chat, yeah.
So there's that. Now, Lane Kiffin today appeared on the Pat McAfee show. And I was at home, and I'm not usually at home I don't watch that show. I know it's there. I know it's incredibly popular, but it was a nothing burger, although it's a great guy to have on your show because it never really was addressed whether or not he did say that he has not been given any kind of a ultimatum about when he needs to make up his mind. It ended up being a really nice spot for Ole Miss football, including Kewan Lacey, who we'll mention in a moment. But there was nothing really with any meat and potatoes about what he's going to do and didn't expect that to be the case anyway.
Well, Paul's got me hungry now. I want some like fajitas for some reason. But yeah, or whatever those would have been called in your little ASU menu.
Do you want the chicken or the beef or the combo?
The chicken.
Chicken. So you got the Louis and Dejas
Get the
chicken.
combo.
I want the Louis and Dejas. Now you know what you got to do now, and you'll love to do it. You got to do it for everybody.
I'm very
You got to
excited.
do it for everybody. So we can do some graphics with that at some point. Have like a full menu that people can look through, like a slideshow type thing or something. But nevertheless, producing on air. We'll stop doing that for now. But, yeah, I saw that he was going to be on the show as I was about to cut a podcast with Garrett. And I said, well, I guess I'm not going to say much about Lane Kiffin because this could be dead on arrival. Like the moment I press stop, he's already like reaffirmed his commitment to Ole Miss, I'm assuming, right? Or he's going to say that he's, definitely been given an ultimatum. And it was him saying that he hasn't been given an ultimatum. And then they talked about some other stuff. And that was it. Like, I don't know what other things of interest that were a part of that, but I know that for me, as somebody with no skin in the Kiffin game right now, other than just interested in the story, that all I wanted to hear about was this ultimatum and timelines. And I know he wasn't going to get into the dirty details of that all, but I don't think you walked away knowing anything more other than now there's a dispute over whether there was an ultimatum or not, and there's disputes about that dispute of whether that is true as originally reported or not. So that is the type of appearance that would make me bang my head against the wall if I was an Ole Miss fan. Of like, really, dude, you went on the most popular sports show in the world, and you decided, and maybe there's probably a soccer show somewhere. What am I? Most popular sports show in America, and you have this opportunity to say, "I'm sticking around, baby. Forget LSU in Florida. You could just like shove it right up your rivals, you know what's, and make this big proclamation on this massive platform, which, by the way, did you see the West Virginia kid commit on McAfee? Okay, yeah, we'll get to that. But
we have a rundown.
Yeah, okay, cool. I don't have one. But that was a moment where you thought that Kiffin was going to, like, give an answer, and he didn't.
No.
And so it's just like, dude, what are we doing? Like, what are you? You really are the biggest troll in the world, and you just can't help yourself. And they're going to, if they didn't really give you an ultimatum, they're going to have to give you an ultimatum because you're just going to keep playing this game until you finally decide you've had enough fun. And it's got to be driving Rebs fans just crazy.
To be fair to him, he was invited on the show. I'm sure he was told he wanted to come on the show, and I'm sure he knew that he was going to be asked about it, but he never was really asked about, are you staying at Ole Miss?
Yeah, that is McAfee's fault, right?
Yeah,
or his co-host or whoever.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't want to sit there and be. I'm not anti-Lane by any means. I'm not that. I just figured like, oh well, he's on McAfee. Surely there's going to be some news coming out of that, given how yesterday was, and it turns out there wasn't. And I guess blame the lack of questioning.
Well,
but that's a big miss.
It could have been at least what is will you be at Ole Miss if you make the playoffs? Will you be there for? It could have been a way to ask it. They never really did. And it was a hell of a commercial for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. But he never was asked specifically, other than he did say he denied. He said there was not any kind of ultimatum. So there we are with that. Speaking of which, a part of that segment was this young man, Kewan Lacey from Lancaster High School up in Dallas. Player of the Week for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. He had a huge week in their win. Absolutely 224 yards rushing, 31 carries, 3 touchdowns in the comeback. Well, it was back and forth win against Florida, 34-24. He made an appearance. Got to be fun for him to make appearance on that show.
He is an absolute beast. And, I knew that they were going to be, that he was going to fit in well there, like just, what the kind of offense they have. But I remember watching the first game this year and realizing how big he is. And, and look, I think of Lancaster and I think of like speed. I mean, they had.
No, he's got that too.
Yeah, he's got that too. But like, for those who don't know, Lancaster for 35 years kind of dominated in track. They always had, like, even if they didn't win the state track meet, they had people who won individual events. Like, you could just pick an event and be like, yeah, Lancaster got that one this year. They were so good at it. And then just watching him this year, he's a monster. He's an absolute monster. I love watching him.
He's arguably the best running back in America, not named Jeremiah Love. I think he is an absolute stud, and he's been great, and he's been putting up big numbers, and he's been really just awesome to watch kind of blossom this year for Ole Miss. So glad he got that spotlight. I should mention the one thing Lane did say that did leave like a little bit of a breadcrumb was his yoga session with the athletic director in the morning that he apparently had at the 6 a.m. yoga session, or however he phrased that. So there was that as well. But yeah, I just found that to be typical like Kiffin of like, what's he gonna say? Oh, it's just more nothing. But yeah, I'm glad that Ole Miss is getting the spotlight. They definitely deserve it. It sucks that there's this side story because we've experienced that firsthand of what it's like to follow a program who's having a level of success that's a lot of fun, but to also have this side distraction of, is this going to continue or is this coach going to leave here pretty soon? And it's like, it makes it very hard to enjoy it because you're waiting for that shoe to drop. Whereas if that shoe just tied itself and said, hey, I'm not going anywhere, you would have the biggest backing that you've ever had in school history, ready to charge forward and run into the future. But now they're like half foot in, like half foot out because they don't know if you're running with them or not. And I just think that part of it sucks for Ole Miss fans. But I understand Lane's got to do what's best for him, and that's what he's doing. But for Ole Miss, it's not the most fun time right now. It's fun though watching Kawan Lacey. He's a dude, and glad to see him get the Player of the Week because he's been honorable mention several times. And he's a guy who I feel very strongly will be a finalist for that award at this point.
I think Ole Miss fans are having a great time, but this got some heartburn to it.
Right.
It's like it's what you do the night after having too many things to drink or enchiladas or whatever. By the way, how it works out for everybody, he was at Missouri, transferred to Ole Miss. Ahmad Hardy, who's one of the great running backs in college football today, now is having a huge year. He came in for the University of Louisiana and now is having a spectacular year at Mizzou. Let's go to one more story, then we break for Ari Temkin. The Lombardi Award, 4 finalists, 2 of them from Texas Tech, and also Alabama offensive lineman Caden Proctor, and then you have Cassius Howell from A&M, Jacob Rodriguez, and David Bailey are the 2 from Tech. Those are the finalists to win that coveted award for the best lineman, interior or not, in college football.
I think that's a pretty salty list right there, and some really good finalists. So, I think that's pretty incredible to see 2 Texas Tech logos on there, and not unusual necessarily to see Alabama, obviously, or even A&M for that matter over recent years. They produced a lot of big-time defensive linemen in particular, but really cool to see Bailey and Rodriguez there as bookmarks, and I know we'll have several months to go over the previews and reviews and everything else. And by the way, some of like even the most accurate preseason magazines, like Paul gave me some preseason magazines I'm going to cut up for a little thing, a little separate, completely away from the show thing I'm doing. And they were just as inaccurate about the Big 12 and like the overall order of things as anybody. But you look at Texas Tech, and when we do preview them, I do think that no matter how much money Cody Campbell has and how much of a draw they have been, they have a very special group of guys they've been able to assemble this year that I don't think you just go, all right, checkbook, we're going to be able to get David Bailey and we're going to get Jacob Rodriguez to stick around, and we're going to get like Jacob Rodriguez is a heart and soul guy that's not a portal. He's like a true to the game Red Raider. But the Lee Hunters and the David Baileys, they're going to go get some of those guys without a doubt. But I just think that you really got to embrace these guys because not only are they having this record year, but there's no guarantee that you can just duplicate that success in the portal and hit the way they've hit on so many of these players. It's been incredible to watch.
That's been the story. One of the stories during the offseason was not all of what they accumulated. It was how they did and how they penciled and targeted, and they got great fits for this year. And you're right. It doesn't mean every year that it's going to happen.
Yeah, they're going to lose a ton of talent, but that talent's going to carry them a long way. We'll see how far they can carry them.
Yeah, how many others have spent money in the portal or had big-time recruits join the program, and it just didn't fit? All right, when we come back, Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. We'll have Shahan Jararaja today from CBS Sports. We'll also dig into tonight is the next release of the college football playoff standings. What does the bracketology say and more? We appreciate you every single day you're with us. Thank you for your time. 365 Sports. Please subscribe if you haven't. And Ari Temkin is next. The Baylor alumni with Paul Thorpe and with Doug First, they're the ones that set up special events wherever Baylor might be playing when it comes to athletics. And I've mentioned they're not at home. They're playing in Arizona, Tucson this weekend, then back home for the last game against Houston. But whether it's football or any other sport, when they're on the road for NCAA tournaments, men or women, or they're on the road for other particular events, they will set things up to have everybody come together from throughout the country, whether it's at a bowl game or not. And that, of course, bowl game right now is up for grabs and in question. But also, if you have a watch party wherever you are, but it's not in the Texas area or not near Waco, send something to Doug or Paul and they'll put it up so that others in your area, wherever it might be, will know you're there and possibly be a part of the watch party at a sports bar or restaurant or something similar. It's the Baylor Club. The Baylor Alumni Group. Go to Facebook for more information.
Batteries Plus has teamed up with the Dallas Cowboys as the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in all-lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
My go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. Ari Temkin, James Wesley, and Ari joins us on Tuesdays, most every Tuesday here on 365 Sports. Hello. Good to see you. We're getting down close to where we mathematics, physics, whatever the law of whatever the earth is, we're going to have two teams, maybe even this weekend, that we know will be a part of the Big 12 championship game. In your opinion, what has been the biggest surprise to date in the conference of one team? Good or bad?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a bunch of them. K-State fighting for bowl eligibility here and not fighting for the top of the conference is a huge surprise. I think given where most people thought that they would be, I think Baylor, regardless of if you thought they're going to win the conference or not, finishing the way that they did last year with the offense that returned, that's a huge surprise. BYU with a true freshman quarterback doing what they're doing. I mean, Bear Bachmeier has been phenomenal. He's averaging, I think, 218 yards passing a game and at least 50 yards rushing in each game he's played. It's just a remarkable number. So they have, to have BYU where they are is probably a surprise. And then, I mean, maybe we shouldn't be surprised by Texas Tech, but, certainly a question coming into the year if Tech was going to be the alpha, Tech was going to be as good as we thought they would be based on their talent and personnel. And, they probably have been even better than we thought they would be this year.
TCU in this last week, the heat has turned up a little bit more than it was. Now, I don't think Sonny Dykes is on the hot seat in the same way that, say, Dave Aranda is, but he is certainly in the same spot that maybe Aranda was a year ago, I would think, because his fans are, they're mad about the way that the offense can't run the ball. They're mad about the defense can't really stop anybody. They got absolutely manhandled like they weren't there by BYU last week. What do you think Sonny Dykes needs to really address or change to turn down that temperature so that he's not sitting here next year like Dave Aranda is this year?
It's funny, Paul, but I mean, if you boil last season for TCU down to two issues, it would be running the ball on defense. I mean, they had atrocious luck try to run the football last year, and they thought they had fixed the issue, and Kavorian Barnes just hasn't figured out a way to stay healthy, and because of that, they've kind of been the same offense that they were last year. And then defensively, man, they started off the season with a bang, and it's sort of devolved into what we've seen. That's also a huge surprise. I mean, TCU not being better. And, it's funny because they've now lost a couple of straight games and like they should have won the Iowa State game. They had that game completely in hand and they could not take advantage of an Iowa State defense that most teams have been able to take advantage of lately. So, I look at the mistakes made in that game. It's been turnovers. Josh Hoover has not been good. I trace back Hoover to that Arizona State game. With all due respect to Tim Brando, I'll never get out of my mind that he kept talking throughout the game about how underrated Josh Hoover is. And it's almost as if they pumped the audio into Sam Levitt's helmet because he turned it on in the fourth quarter and he completely outdueled Hoover. And Hoover has not been the same since. He had two more turnovers in this game. He's had multiple two interception games, dating back to the Arizona State game. So, I think it's a great question, Paul, but it's sort of funny that a year later it's same issues here that are plaguing TCU. And, coming into the year, I thought one of the big pieces on TCU was, the fact that TCU had from a talent standpoint, had recruited at the top of the conference. And so you thought that based on their heavy recruiting, the 4 and 5 stars that they had over the last 3-4 years would start to really, make hay. And for whatever reason, again, they just have not been able to run the football. Their offensive line continues to have issues. They thought they fixed this thing in the offseason, and yet their defense is bad again. So, look, Dykes obviously built up a lot of cachet with his success year one, but I think it's hard to believe that next year he doesn't start the season on the hot seat, given, this team has just not gotten close to the level they got to in year one under Sonny.
So I put an asterisk by the name Sam Leavitt because we need to circle back to that at some point, given today's news. But BYU just crushed TCU. I mean, and they've done that to a lot of teams this year. Is there any part of you that feels like there's a scenario where it's not BYU, Texas Tech with 2 weeks to play in Arlington?
I mean, if there is, it's Texas Tech and Utah. But and if I'm being honest, I think that's the game I want to see more than Texas Tech BYU. And I don't know why, beyond the fact that it feels like Utah is considerably better than when they played Texas Tech the first time. Now that means I think Texas Tech's also probably better than when they played the first time. But yeah, I mean, with what BYU has left, it's hard to think from what we saw from Cincinnati last week that they could pose much difficulty, but it is a road game. And yeah, I would think that BYU with a win here basically clinches the opportunity to play Texas Tech for a Big 12 championship. The miraculous thing, Craig, would be how sort of clean that would be for a league that's been anything but. I mean, pretty much every year since the Big 12 championship came back, the Big 12 has had at least one team with 2 losses play in the Big 12 championship game. And so with that, we've had a crazy amount of tiebreakers that we've had to sort through. And so at this point, it seems pretty cut and dried. And again, if it is Tech and BYU with that one loss in conference play that meet up, I mean, that would be the cleanest Big 12 championship matchup we've ever seen, and certainly within recent history. But, it's the one thing, guys, we've been talking about all year. We talked about it in the offseason. Is the Big 12 going to be more top heavy, or is it going to be a league of parity? And, the ACC is clearly a league of parity this year. I think the Big 12 is more top heavy than it's been in a long time. I think we're seeing that, like the separation between Tech and BYU and Tech and Utah, and then the separation between Utah and Cincinnati and Utah and Houston and, and BYU. Like it's wild just to see the outcomes of these games, to see the clear delineation between, tier 1, tier 2, and then the drop off to me between tier 1, tier 2, and then the rest of the conference in tier 3, tier 4, and beyond that. I mean, it's clear Texas Tech's tier 1. It's clear BYU and Utah are clear or tier 2, and then maybe Cincinnati, Houston, Arizona, tier 3. Clearly a significant step below the rung there with tier 1 and tier 2. So, I think that's good for the conference. I think puts the conference in position to get two teams into the playoff. And, I believe the Big 12 tied a record last year with 9 bowl eligible teams. Well, there are 3 more that are on the cusp of bowl eligibility, including, K-State, Kansas, and Baylor. So, I would imagine at least one of those 3 gets to bowl eligibility, which would mean 10 bowl teams. So again, just speaks to the strength of the conference in 2025.
Yeah, and I just want to, this isn't a question, I just want to say this for any random Cincinnati fan, not being disrespectful to the Bearcats. They have a shot to win at home. It's just that it's more about respect for BYU and what I've seen, that I anticipate that they're probably going to win that game and we're going to see BYU Tech. But yeah, I think Tech and Utah round 2 would be very interesting. Parity, they picked the wrong year to not have parity because now it's all in style. Because in the SEC, it's parity galore. And now it's like the depth of your league is so impressive. We were talking about that earlier, whereas when it was the other way, it's like, oh, they don't have any great teams. So, yeah, I think maybe they have a couple of great teams. I think Arizona State with a healthy Leavitt would have been in that mix potentially as well, that top tier. But obviously that didn't play out that way.
Yeah, and I mean, it's remarkable what Arizona State has done despite that. I mean, I asked Kenny Dillingham this last week, and basically, how many wins would you have said you'd have if you knew before the season started that you'd play the majority of the year without Sam Leavitt, Jordan Tyson, and then their leader in the back end of the defense and Xavier Alford? I mean, it's incredible that they are as good as they are, given the losses that they've sustained. I think most teams would be closer to probably 3 or 4 wins, given what they've dealt with this year. So, it speaks to the program. It speaks to the culture. It speaks to how good of a coach Kenny Dillingham is. And it's been a remarkable season for them, given all of the issues that they've had to still be bowl eligible, to still be competing. I mean, they're the only team to knock a win against Texas Tech. It's pretty remarkable what they've done. Look, I think, when the SEC does it, it's depth top to bottom, and the Big 12 does it, it's parity. And I don't know if the Big 12 the last few years has been closer to resembling that of the SEC this year or that of the ACC, but maybe it's easier from this vantage point to see just how bad the ACC is top to bottom. And maybe that's why people have looked at the Big 12 that way. I don't know. It feels like the Big 12 has been better, but maybe that's just because we're so deep into it. But the ACC is trash. It's awful. And it just shows week to week, how a league of parity can be viewed like that. And, I don't know that we've ever seen a situation of the Big 12 where the best team was buried in the standings in Miami and wouldn't have a shot to play in the playoff. Most years, I think getting an automatic bid from conference champions makes sense. This year, it's not going to make a ton of sense at all. I mean, we've already seen group of 5 teams that get the designation of being, CFP, the CFP bid, that they've lost and gone down. It certainly seems like, none of those teams are worthy of a bid this year, but they'll get one. And then the ACC, I mean, if the ACC is going to get a bid, it probably shouldn't be from their champion. It should probably be from Miami, who has the best resume of any of these ACC teams.
So Leavitt, the story today that perhaps he's not certain to come back to Arizona State. Not a surprise, but it was disappointing, I think. And Dillingham fights that every day. He wants to come back. He has said he's coming back. 2 things. Were you surprised when you saw Leavitt might be getting shopped around? And 2, what does that really mean to college football? And can it affect what Dillingham and where he is next year?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, no, I'm not surprised. There is a ton of smoke right now around Arizona State. And, where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's a lot of smoke. And, number one, so you look at the Leavitt part of it. And so Leavitt at a minimum is trying to gauge fair market value for his services. So, maybe he is really shopping around, or maybe he's gauging what the market bears and then trying to bring that back to Arizona State and say, can you get close? When we spoke with Kenny Dillingham, one of the things that he mentioned was, he's fully committed to Arizona State, but that he needs them to give some concessions in terms of money. That's the reality of the situation. And I'm, good on Dillingham for not beating around the bush. And so, you sort of start to wonder, as much as it seems like Dillingham's not going to go anywhere, and all indications are that he's not, and he's, certainly said all the right things. But I mean, the reality is, and Dillingham told us this, every coach wants to be in position to win a national championship. Well, if Arizona State can't raise the type of money they need in order to win a national championship, to procure the players that they need, what does that say to the head coach? And does he now look at coaching elsewhere? And, the huge conspiracy theory here would be, it's both Dillingham and Sam Leavitt going to LSU. And look, in 2025, that's not the most surprising thing out there, as surprising as that might seem. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm simply saying, Dillingham, like most coaches, just wants to be in a spot where he knows that he can win a national championship, compete there. He's felt like that since he's been at Arizona State. But the difference is, does Arizona State have the dollars to match what's out there in order for them in the future to be able to get that? Because Dillingham's not going to disparage any of his players trying to maximize their value in a world in which value is trying to be maximized. So, a lot of smoke around this. I certainly saw the reaction from Leavitt's camp and his brother, and they're calling BS on the NACOS report. But look, there's clearly a lot of people talking, and this report isn't. Most times that people say, "Oh, this is a BS report," that they're found to be untrue, and especially when it comes from somebody like a Pete NACOS, who's got and Steve Wiltfong for that matter. Normally when there's reports that are out there that are wrong and prove to be wrong, they're from guys that you've never heard of, that are maybe smaller newspapers or whatever, that are just trying to make a name for themselves. But the guys like Schefter and NACOS and Thamel, they don't miss. So there's clearly smoke going on there. Does this mean he's going to leave? No. But I think the bigger story here is, can Arizona State then keep Dillingham if Dillingham recognizes that they don't have the true NIL ability to keep as many players they need to keep around?
You know what I think the problem for Arizona State is? Because I think that if you really, for such a big school that had so many alum that have been successful and all that, they just haven't cared about athletics for so long. So it's not like they couldn't probably go find the money in the same regard as a similar sized school could find the money if they had given a damn about it for a quarter century. But going to people that you've never asked for money for football or basketball or anything before, and then all of a sudden asking them is it's a hard thing to do. And it's a hard thing to ask an athletic director who's been on the job for less than a year to do that as well, even though that's what they're going to do. But I think that's probably more of the problem is that, okay, well, they could probably find it, but it might take them 3 or 4 years to really get that going. Or I could go to LSU, who, I mean, they're always got their hand out and always have for football. You know, I could do the same for Florida or whatever job opens up. And I know that at least they have the infrastructure of asking. As we're here, this school didn't care about it for 25 years.
No, it's a great point. And, you know, look, I mean, over that past, quarter century, as you referenced, like they've had some success, but nothing that's sustained. I would think now would be the best possible time to go and meet with those people to try to, to open the pocketbooks, because this is a different dude. It's a different time and they're looking for sustainable excellence. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly a part of it. Like if you're trying to bark up a tree of someone that you've, never gotten to open the pocketbook, why now? I mean, I would think because right now seems to be the best opportunity that they have to have long-term sustained success at a place that they just haven't had it. And I mean, you're right. I mean, Jaden Daniels was at Arizona State and he left and went to LSU and won a Heisman Trophy and became the 2nd overall pick. So like talent hasn't been the issue. It's been getting guys to stay, getting guys to buy in. And you'd think now that they have the coach that they'd be willing to do that. But, it really is a haves versus have-nots world right now. And, a player like Leavitt is going to command high dollar because he is a Heisman Trophy type guy who has the upside to be a high first-round pick. He just hasn't stayed healthy this year, and that's a reason that he's kind of fallen by the wayside. So, I mean, best-case scenario, this is all just a bunch of smoke that evaporates. But, again, it's hard to think that there's not anything here. There's not legs here.
Ari, last question. We have had our conversations and we've played some of the Dave Aranda responses to questions from after the game Saturday and even Monday morning. And I know he gets it, but then again, he doesn't really get it. And then, of course, they are struggling. What are your thoughts about where he is and Baylor is? And can there's, in your opinion, we have ours, but in your opinion, can they move on into the future with him?
No, and I don't think they will. I said that last week too, regardless of what the outcome of the Utah game was, but the Utah outcome just kind of validated the entire season, right? We thought maybe the UCF game, sort of a sign of something they'd figured out. And then what do? They give up 55 points or whatever it was. I think they've given up the 7 highest point totals to 7 opponents they played this year. Mm-hmm. And then another couple, it's been the 2nd highest point totals they've had on the year.
Is that bad?
Just no way. Like there's a level of apathy, I think, that's set in. Like I know I have a ton of friends in the Dallas area that are Baylor alums. Like they're completely apathetic towards this program right now. I can't imagine that that's, not the norm for a lot of Baylor fans right now. And that's like apathy is the last place you could possibly be, especially in an era where, like we just talked about, you need fan interest and you need booster interest. And like you could sell momentum last year. You can't sell momentum right now.
No,
you had all these wins going into the end of the season. You thought, okay, it was a slow start, but they figured something out. They return everybody from that offensive line. They bring back everybody on offense. They add new players on offense. This should be one of the most explosive offenses in college football. Guys, there's a reason I picked Baylor to win the Big 12. I thought the defense with Aranda, a year to fix it. Like it's clear that Aranda is in over his head as being a head coach. I just don't know that he could be any more clear at this point in time. I think Matt Rule left a roster intact that was ready to win at a high level, and Aranda babysat that team. And now, the further removed we are from that Big 12 championship team, the more we recognize that Aranda is probably better suited to be a defensive coordinator. And it's just evident in the way that he talks. It's evident in the way that he prepares. It's evident in the things that he says. Like he doesn't get the big picture. And I think Smokey, you've just mentioned that. Like you can't be in the minutia in the way that Aranda seems to constantly be in the minutia. That's for coordinators to be. And he's just never really shed that. I think he's probably been too quick to fire assistant coaches. I think we can go down a laundry list of things for why it hasn't worked out for Rand at Baylor. I think he's a super nice guy and he's a deep thinker and he's really interesting to have a beer with. But other than that, I think it's clear that he's not the guy. I mean, the biggest thing now is who's making the call.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the timing on this Mac Rhodes thing could not have come at a worse time because you've got a very short window here to try to hire a new coach. And there's plenty of big time coaches out there I would hire tomorrow. Jeff Traylor at UTSA, GJ Kitty at Texas State, Eric Morris at North Texas, Colin Klein at Texas A&M. There's 4 that I would be, foaming at the mouth to hire tomorrow to be my head coach. So, the question on this is timing. When's the right time? And do you have, is it the interim athletic director? Do you even have one at this point? Is he's taking a leave of absence? Like the verbiage here is really, really disconcerting from a Baylor perspective.
Thank you, buddy. Good to see you. As always, Ari Temkin with James Westland in the morning, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. And with us on Tuesdays, usually at around 3:40, and Shahan is right around the corner.
Yeah, I was just trying to say, I want to add something. No lack of storylines in this league right now. That's for sure. A lot of interesting things going on to talk about with Leavitt and coaching rumors and all sorts of stuff like that.
Well, and then you look at K-State and Kansas, and 2 guys that we like a hell of a lot with Leipold and Kleiman, and who knows what's going on there. Oklahoma State, I was told today, as soon as their season's over, probably the very next day, they'll have a head coach announced. But that might be until that time.
Yeah, right to Shahan right now.
Okay, we're now joined by Shahan Jayaraja, CBS Sports. Shahan, thank you. What are your thoughts about the story involving Leavitt, possibly or appears to be being shopped around? Not surprised, but again, Arizona State and Dillingham have worked so hard to get them in a position where they are.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, obviously. This season has not gone the way that many hoped at Arizona State. And frankly, the injuries to both Jordan Tyson and Sam Leavitt are kind of at the top of the reason why. I mean, frankly, I think they've done a great job of replacing Cam Scadaboo. Raleek Brown, I think, when he's had the opportunity to play next to those 2 guys, has been a tremendous, tremendous player. But at the same time, like, I understand from Sam Leavitt's perspective, you're sitting here, this season didn't go the way that you wanted it to go. Now, by the way, you're staring down the barrel of losing Jordan Tyson to the NFL. I think to me, Jordan Tyson is the best offensive player in the league this year. Just he didn't get a chance to play. And so, if you're Leavitt, you're looking down like, okay, well, we haven't necessarily brought in this high level of talent. And by the way, that's a big part of this equation is obviously the reporting right now is that he could be shopping himself around, that his representatives could be. Certainly no decision has been made at this point, but this also could be some level of pressure for, hey, like, I want to be here. The reality is Sam Leavitt is an Arizona State legend. He led them to a Big 12 title. He nearly led them to an upset of Texas in the college football playoff. Like, make it worth my while to come back, both from a financial perspective and also from a competitive perspective.
Yeah. We were just talking about that with Ari a little bit, and how Arizona State has to go raise that money and all these other things that they'd have to do. But I think we've heard it from several coaches. Matt Rule, who ultimately got what he wanted from Nebraska. We've seen a couple coaches in the Big Ten, Mike Loxley and Luke Fickell, not get fired because the university basically admitted, like, yeah, we haven't really been spending all that much money on this. And it feels like they were trying to maybe like, oh, nobody else is going to do this. And then they did it. And they're like, oh, crap, they were going to do it. They were going to spend that much money. So I think about Jeff Traylor on our show in his press conferences, like, kind of exhausted with the whole, like, I need this much money to compete thing. How much of that do you think is now a huge calculation that universities have to make in retaining a coach? Because it seems like maybe they have not on the front end of this.
So somebody asked me the other day, how important is an athletic director really? Like, do we really need to, as obviously as a Baylor person, do we really need to be super worried about this? Is this really something that matters? And I would make the case right now in this moment that athletic directors and athletic departments have never been more important, and head coaches in some ways have never been less important. Now, they're very important. I want to be clear about that. But I think that what we're seeing right now is that there is a real stratification going on between the athletic departments and programs that are actually able to spend at a high level and try to win at a high level, and the ones that aren't. I think back to some of the coaches. I mean, and by the way, Kenny Dillingham is one of them at Arizona State, Brent Key at Georgia Tech, Matt Rule at Nebraska. There are so many examples of coaches who kind of were like, look, again, there's historically been a point of funding at a high level for as an athletic department has historically been, well, you fund 85 scholarships and get me a good assistant pool and a recruiting pool. Well, that's not even cutting it these days. Now you're talking about the $20 million in rev share. It's also what percentage of rev share goes in your direction. It's also how can you find ways to build relationships with the business community to bring in a little bit more income for my guys. That's so much more, I think, part of the equation than it's ever been before. Because, I mean, look, let's look at some of the best programs in college football right now. Look, Steve Sarkisian's done a great job at Texas. They've also outspent just about everybody over the past 4 years. Texas Tech with Joey McGuire, I think Joey's doing a tremendous job. They bring in this great recruiting class. That's something that, yes, obviously the coach is involved in, but the athletic department is the ones who kind of took the lead at that. So I think that in this moment, everybody realizes the stratifications between kind of haves and have-nots. There used to be that kind of gap, right? We have the championship level investing, we have the not championship level investing. Well, now you're seeing this being pressed even in between peers and individual conferences, right? We're seeing it between Texas Tech and TCU and Baylor. We're seeing it between Florida and Auburn and Ole Miss, 3 programs that are frankly not super different jobs, but are also putting more into some cases than others. So I think that it's a huge part of the equation that everybody's pushing for just a little bit more. And again, as long as there aren't clear guard rules in place, especially, I think that that's how it's going to be. It's going to be, what can you do for me right now? And also, how can we build this into something sustainable long-term?
What do you think that Virginia Tech has in James Franklin? Sure seems like they're one of those schools that is saying, all right, we're stepping up and it's the time to do so. And it seems like they got a pretty good hire, Shahan.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, I think that if you went into this offseason, even before Brent Pry was fired, by the way, former James Franklin assistant, which is a little funny, but if you went into this, you would have said an ideal candidate for Virginia Tech looks like James Franklin. And obviously you didn't think he'd be available, but the reason that I say that is this. I just mentioned all that stuff about funding and building, sort of a serious administration and all this sort of stuff. Well, James Franklin is known for demanding that, whether it is going out into the business community and making stuff happen, whether it is, having leverage with athletic directors and athletic departments to say, this is what we need. He knows what a big time athletic department looks like. He knows how to build it. He's done it at Vanderbilt before, at Penn State before. And yeah, look, we can get into the whole, struggles in games where they're equal or lesser talent, but that is a problem that Virginia Tech does not have to worry about for a very long time. This is a moment where Virginia Tech is trying to level themselves up as an athletic department, because their athletic director, Whit Babcock, went before their board of regents and said essentially, look, we are on the lower end of funding in the ACC, and the ACC right now is the lowest funded athletic department. They were not doing things in their athletic department in a serious way to be able to compete at the level that Virginia Tech expects. Well, James Franklin is exactly the guy who can whip people into shape and make that happen. I think it's a tremendous hire. And again, he was an assistant at Maryland for many years. He's been in Pennsylvania. I think that he comes into Virginia in that Tidewater region and starts to clean up with Virginia Tech.
Shahan, your thoughts of your alum to Baylor and the Aranda deal and what happens there? Can they find the 2-for-1 or whatever up in Denton, Texas, if that's an option? We had Jared Mosley on the show yesterday and Eric Morris, but what do you think, and how can they turn this around without getting lost in the shuffle?
This is such a tough position to be in because, look, we talked about it a little last week, right? We're talking about a 28-day window. We're talking about potentially going into December, not necessarily knowing the future of the athletic department. We'll see if they ultimately are able to pull cause together, whether they reach a separation agreement in a shorter time frame. I think that's something they really need to be looking into, just with the logistics and reality of the situation. But I'll say this. I mean, I think that heading into this last 4-game stretch for Baylor in November, it felt like bowl eligibility was likely, even if not easy. Look at Arizona right now. Arizona is 7-3, and you're going on the road to play them. I think everybody checked that box and assumed it was going to happen. I don't think that's a win anymore. Then you play Houston, and Houston's reeling a little bit. But if you lose to a Houston team that obviously is still very good at home on senior day, an in-state program in year 2 of a rebuild while you're in year 6, I just don't think you can come back from that. I think that this thing is becoming harder and harder to square away. So, like you said, I mean, I think that some of the easy things would be to look at an athletic director, head coach type combination, because then you kind of speed up that process. But, you know, also I will say this too, like Baylor hasn't historically done stuff like that. They tend to be very by the book, very process oriented. And I think that, again, if you can't get your situation with your athletic director resolved by, let's say, you know, a week or 2 from now, by December 1st, let's say, I mean, it just puts you in such a tough position to try to make decisions. Now, there are a couple of those types of combos out there. Like you mentioned, Jared Mosley at North Texas, you know, with Eric Morris. I think that, you know, somebody who's been linked a lot to Baylor's athletic department is Jeremiah Dickey, a former sort of assistant athletic director at Baylor, who's now the athletic director at Boise State. Although, you know, is Spencer Danielson a realistic candidate with some of the struggles they've had in his second year? I don't necessarily know. So, I mean, that's what makes this all so tough. But I think that we are starting to get to a point where you just can't realistically move on with this coach. And even if you do have to go into December and make an unorthodox hire, like it just, I feel like you have to do that at this point.
The worst thing I think they could do is try to stick to some sort of normal procedure here and use that as an excuse to kick the can down the road. I think that you have every problem is an opportunity in disguise. And I think that is what this is. I'm curious about your thoughts on another coach. Shane Beamer at South Carolina. They had the most epic collapse against A&M. They haven't won in a couple of months. They're not playing well. He's got a quarterback that everybody thought was going to be a first-round pick in Lenora Sellers. Now he's going to have to fight off the transfer portal for guys like Nick Harbor and Lenora Sellers and Dylan Stewart and the like. Can he stay at South Carolina? And even if he does he have these same guys back next year that he couldn't do anything with this year?
So I don't think that he's at risk of being let go this year. I don't know if he's going to be able to hang on to a lot of these guys. I mean, you know, we've already heard that kind of through the grapevine that Lenore Sellers has not been happy with the way that he's used. They fired their first-year offensive coordinator mid-season, Mike Shula. And so I do think that Lenore Sellers is probably gone. And just realistically, that's probably the best decision for him, unless they can bring in a really high-level offensive coordinator. And again, you mentioned, I mean, Nick Harbor, Dylan Stewart, I mean, they've brought in such high-level talents over the past couple of years. But this is kind of the lot of being South Carolina right now, right? Is that you have to play that Clemson game every year. You have to play 8 games, moving to 9 games, by the way, against SEC opponents. And it's just been really tough for them to find any consistency. They came into the year, I believe it was number 13 in the AP poll. They've obviously fallen and are at risk of now missing a bowl game. And so I don't think he's going to be let go this year. And I think that there's some acknowledgement from that athletic department that, you know what, like these swings happen. But the other piece of this as well is I don't know how he pulls out of this tailspin either for 2026. If they have another year, let's say, where they miss a bowl game, I think he will be gone after the 2026 season. So a little bit of a rock and a hard place for them. And like you said, I mean, I think that it's very much on the table that all of those players end up leaving, even though I do have on good authority, all of them are very well compensated at South Carolina.
Shahan, last week I asked like pretty much every guest we had of like, if you can pick an upset from these 2 SEC matchups, Texas and Georgia or Oklahoma and Alabama, which one would be likely? And like pretty much everybody's like, yeah, I feel better about Texas and Georgia. Your thoughts coming out of that dynamic doubleheader of games last weekend, and the results not only being this feeling about Oklahoma and their great defense and also these questions about Texas, but just the sloppy mess of parity that the SEC has become, which is entertaining, but also a lot to unpack here in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I think that Bill Connolly over at ESPN puts out his post-game win probabilities based on advanced stats after every game, and Oklahoma had a 4% chance to beat Alabama based on his advanced stats, which is the lowest by any power conference team in a win this season. So that should tell you a little something about what's going on. But I mean, the reality is too, like Alabama's been susceptible to mistakes. They obviously made, a lot more of them in this game than they have in the past. But this is the thing. I mean, Georgia's starting to come into shape. I think that Georgia, along with Texas A&M, maybe they emerge as sort of these sort of more juggernaut type teams in the SEC. But like everybody is flawed right now. I mean, even Georgia. I mean, if you look right now, their passing defense has a lot of issues, and Texas, unfortunately at this point does not have a very good passing offense to take advantage of that. But, Alabama, they can't run the ball right now. And that was a huge inhibitor for them. They make mistakes. They have, coverage busts and lapses. They obviously have been miserable on special teams, including the missed field goal that they had that in hindsight would have won the game. And, again, like, this is, I think, what life is like right now in the SEC. And this is something that I'm curious about long-term too, with sort of like the elite powers in college football, is when we do have more of a capped world. I'm not saying that we have 100% hard capped world, but when we move to more of a capped world and you do have to decide, are we going to take X player or Y player? Are we going to focus on X position group or Y position group? I'm curious if that's something that we start to see more. I mean, we see that, in the NBA or the NFL, where we have teams that are just like so much more prioritized on one side of the ball than the other. I'm curious if we start to see that a little bit more, even among the elite teams at the college level. Now, I say that, and Ohio State has a perfect football team, so there are going to be teams that figure it out every couple of years, but especially in the SEC right now, that has just not been the case.
Last thing, if Kirby Smart was not a football coach and was wandering around the earth, would he be the most dangerous wild man we've ever known?
There's some wild boys out there, but I mean, he's just one of those people who just knows exactly what to do. And in fact, I mean, obviously, like, I feel like we've talked so much about Texas this year, but like in that game, you just saw this is what Kirby Smart is, and that's what Steve Sarkisian is. They are not the same at this point. I mean, the sort of killer shot that he took with that onside kick in that moment, it's just like, again, that's not the sort of thing that you see from a lot of these other coaches in college football. The feel of the moment, the understanding that, we have a chance to put this game away. And by the way, also the execution on that special teams play was unbelievable. I mean, obviously Texas didn't expect it, but Cash Jones, obviously from Brock, Texas, after the game said, we've been practicing that kick every single day this season, and I've been saying I want to use it, and eventually they did. They executed to perfection. And again, like that's why Kirby Smart is the best coach in college football right now. We can talk about the recruiting, we can even talk about the development, but it's also the in-game coaching that frankly nobody is touching him on right now.
Shahan, thank you, buddy. Good to see you. Shahan Jarrah-Rogers, CBS Sports, with us on Tuesdays here on 365 Sports. For those of you who are watching us on the Twitter account of 365 Sports YT, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe to the channel. We would appreciate you doing that. Now, when we come back, we're going to look at, it's another release tonight of the college football standings. We'll dig into the AP Top 25 poll. Does that give us an idea? On 3 with Andy Staples, who was with us yesterday, with their bracketology of what they expect to see tonight. Much more to get to. We appreciate your time. And this is 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, the Bauer family on Lake Air Drive in Waco. As you get close to, the holidays, Thanksgiving just around the corner, Christmas around the corner a month later, and then, of course, the New Year's holidays. And if you are having any kind of let's say people that you like office parties at your house, or even at the office, you need some food, they can put together trays for you and also the goodies you want. If you want turkeys, they have turkeys and pit hams and more for Thanksgiving, or whenever you do that. Some during Thanksgiving have ham or something else. Heck, even maybe an Italian stallion type of cuisine. And if you want during Christmas, they can give you the prime rib and the rib roast. All of what you need, tailgating the holidays. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
The latest college football rankings will be released tonight. I usually, by the time I get home, I don't watch the show. I think I may have watched the first one. And by the time I get home, I see the release and I kind of look at it. And there's rarely many times that I'm like, oh my God, that's not right. I don't care about reading him until the last one. But here we are. Andy Staples, who joined us yesterday with his bracketology based on what he thinks we'll see tonight. And this includes not just the rankings, because you might not see Georgia Tech a part of the top 12 or Tulane or the group of 5. Here's how he has them. The top 4 seeds. Georgia moves into number 4 with the win. Alabama loses. They're out at least of the top 4. Those are buys. Then the rest of them. Ole Miss at 6, followed, of course, Texas Tech at 5. Then you have Alabama, Oklahoma, Oregon, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, the ACC champion according to Andy's projections, and then Tulane, group of 5. And then you see, look at that at the bottom, BYU, Utah, USC, and Miami.
Yeah, I still think that in the next couple of weeks, if Miami just wins games, they're going to find themselves in the ACC title game. I don't know why I think that.
There's not much time left.
I mean, there's two. Look, all they have to do is not lose and then have everybody else continue to do what they've been doing the last 2 weeks, which is The team that needs to win to solidify their spot loses and loses in embarrassing fashion. Like that's what's happened the last couple weeks in the ACC. So we'll see. I mean, Miami, but
there's 4 teams ahead of them with 1 loss.
But they all could wind up with 2 losses.
Yeah, Georgia Tech's got 1 game left.
Georgia Tech, I said in the championship game, not in that. Like Miami, I think is going to get in the championship game.
You do?
I have a feeling that they will. Okay. I don't know. But I do think that at 10-2, they're going to be the controversy this year, and hands across America for them, because Notre Dame will still get in above them because Notre Dame will have the recency bias of having rattled off 10 straight wins since they lost to Miami and A&M to open the season.
What will it take for BYU to get some respect? I mean, like, honestly, sitting there with 1 loss and it's to Texas Tech now, I will say what I said back then. They got blown out. They got absolutely demolished, and that was what really was the killer of that loss. It wasn't just losing to Texas Tech. It was the fashion in which you lost that game. But if they get dinged for that, then I would hope that that's spread equally across the whole landscape. I don't know that it always is, though. I mean, they had a bone to pick last year, and I think Kalani Sitake handled all of that very well and did as good of a job as a politician / head coach as you could do and not making it a massive distraction. They just went and kicked Colorado's ass in that bowl game and ended on a high note, and that was that, and they haven't dwelled on it, although I'm sure some of their fans have. That ultimately was you lost at the wrong time at the end of the year, and that's what cost you. But here they are, and all this is based on results, but also like hypotheticals, right? And I guess there is just an assumption that they're going to go play Tech and get whooped again, and that's why maybe they're not being given a little bit of the same amount of credit that a Miami who has another loss than they do is being given. But yeah, I think that that's one thing that just sort of jumps out is not that I'm arguing that they should be in this bracket specifically, but I just don't feel like they are given much credit. I really don't. I think they're kind of like, we'll give them the first 4 out, but we're not going to put them in there until like they go beat Tech, and then we'll finally go, okay, they're in the bracket now. But the other thing is I mean, I think that G6 spot is completely a coin flip at the moment.
Oh, yeah,
I don't think Tulane is.
You could have 4 logos right there.
Right. I don't think Tulane is by any stretch of the imagination a guarantee. That spot is a TBD if there ever was one. So that jumps out.
They do have Temple and Charlotte to close out, which is.
Well, and then they'll have the American Championship game, which that'll obviously be a good matchup. But yeah, I think that there's James Madison, for example, who's a part of a different league that may have something to say about that, or somebody else in the American upsets the apple cart. So I think that's very much a to-be-determined spot there at number 12, but I don't really have anything outside of that. If this was the bracket later on tonight, I think I would be okay with it. I know we're going to get more of the Miami-Notre Dame conversation, certainly, if this is the case, and I understand that. I think, again, that goes back to timing as much as anything else for Miami of, like, you've lost and Notre Dame hasn't. So, yes, you beat them. And yes, you've got some good wins, but since then you've slipped a little bit, although they rebounded. So I feel for Miami fans that are in this little kind of place where you should be getting more respect, but you also can see why they're not. But at the same time, it's infuriating because you beat a team that is being ranked in front of you every single week.
But
that's like the Texas OU argument, which now is off the table because they're in different parts of the continent now.
But unfortunately for Miami,
it's not just strictly pure head-to-head. I understand that, yeah.
And it's not unprecedented for you to beat a team at one point in the year and then that team to have the same record as you and be ranked ahead of you.
Yeah, and
it happens.
I still think, don't you guys still think, though, head-to-head should, if you're in the same compartment, it has to work.
I think it should be one of those, if all things are equal, then did you play each other and then boom, you did? Okay, great. Then Miami gets the nod. Yeah.
Miami could very likely be 10-2, not in a conference championship game. Notre Dame also 10-2 and not in a conference championship game.
Yeah.
Or Miami's 10-2, plays in a conference championship game and loses, which then they're done. But they're having to play the extra game, and Notre Dame doesn't.
Well, that would be the thing is if they did do that and then they win that championship game and they win the ACC, like it would depend. But what are the conversations about 10, 11, 12? So, yeah, I hope that happens so that conversation does have to take place because it's been the ongoing every single week Miami, Notre Dame, and the back and forth on that. But I get it that they took a couple L's and did so at a time where it bit them, as opposed to losing early and being fortunate to lose early against good teams, like Notre Dame was. But good to see from a Big 12 perspective, BYU and Utah at least in the mix, and notable that there is no Texas on here, even though there are the remnants of, well, if they were to go on this run and they're going to beat Arkansas and they beat A&M and then perhaps, but Andy not including them, I think, is the right call here. So, yeah, besides those kind of little things, I don't have much to argue over as far as all this goes. Obviously, Georgia Tech's very much a loose fit right there for the time being, because the ACC is all over the place. So we'll see who eventually emerges there, but that's a solid bet.
I don't know if you guys got this or not, but I did. Haynes King, the Georgia Tech quarterback, who's the Texas native from Longview, is going to have a media conference call for media in the state of Texas tomorrow. It's going to be right early on in our show. We might have to try to peel something off with that, with what Georgia Tech in the mix that they're in. And he's not one of those guys you're going to see too much when it comes to the Heisman, but man, don't let me get emotionally involved. I'm a Heisman voter because of what I think he means to college football.
Hey, can you put that back up real quick, Brandon? I just wanted to look at it from if this was the bracket that we do have, which of course it will not be, but man, Bama hosting Oregon, that'd be
look at those.
Fun.
Look at that one.
OU hosting Notre Dame, Ole Miss hosting Georgia Tech. I mean, you have some Southern flavor with that. They would definitely be like a game right now where, obviously Georgia Tech is very loosely fit in here at the moment, but I think that'd be fun to see a couple big-time Texas stars and Kwan Lacey and Haynes King going back-to-back. And then, Texas Tech, and again, a very open spot still be determined. But a home game in the playoff is looking very, very likely for Lubbock, Texas, and that will be a scene, my friends. Yeah. That will be a party like no other, if in fact that happens.
It'd be hard to top 2 weekends ago, but I think that they're
playoff
more than willing to. They're more than willing to try.
You know what I think? I think I'm going to put this on Lubbock, Texas. Look, your job, if you get to host a playoff game, is to make sure that we get more home playoff games after the first round by proving that it's a bad idea to take this off of college campuses, because it is.
Yeah.
It's too much neutral sites, and especially, I mean, let's say A&M and Georgia Tech wind up playing in the Rose Bowl for whatever reason, because of the way that the seedings fall and what they're going to get and all those things. I mean, let's stop the madness and let's just
two of those. Yeah, no, I would love to see them at least get into the quarterfinals on campuses. By the way, USC and Oregon could take care of themselves.
Sure.
And there's other games, but with USC playing Oregon this week on the road in Eugene.
Yeah, I mean, something's going to have to give there. You just wonder, does Oregon fall all the way out, or how is that viewed? But I think first USC needs to take care of business, which is easier said than done. But, yeah, I don't think Lubbock, Texas would need any challenge to host like the greatest playoff atmosphere ever. That'd be a hell of a hornet's nest for anybody to walk into in general, but certainly with a playoff atmosphere, that would be some incredible scenery, as all of these matchups would be. I mean, I do think for all the detractors of the playoff, and I certainly get it, we can get into expanded playoff news that's out there at some point. I think that this is the kind of thing where you go, well, this is pretty cool, though. Like, this is the benefit to having the playoff, is having Tech host a game, or Bama hosting Oregon with a shot to move to the next round on the line. Obviously, you still got the A&M Indiana debate that can continue as well, but not a great week for A&M to really argue too much, given that they needed every second on the clock to come back and beat South Carolina. So they don't really have as much of a leg to stand on this particular week, because they weren't just dominant once again.
They could have blanked the bed, and damn sure tried, but they did win. I think that probably offsets because of other things that went on around them too.
Yeah.
All right. So the AP top 25. This really doesn't mean as much because it's the college football standings. But the only thing here, Alabama dropped from 4 to 10. OU, man, I tell you what, think about where they were. And now they are right in the middle of it at tied for, what are they? Tied for, they're 8. Tech and Oregon are tied at 6. The other teams that fell out badly, Texas dropped 7 spots, and who else fell pretty much? That's it. Those are the 2 biggest drops from this. Virginia, they went up 1. That's it. Alabama and Texas were the only ones that really took a big fall.
By the way, would you like to know the biggest spoiler on this list for everything that everybody wants to see? If Michigan wins this week and then beats Ohio State, we will not get Ohio State and Indiana. We'll get Michigan and Indiana because Michigan, one of the losses is to Oklahoma.
Right.
So, yeah, and they've been kind of just –
they're hanging around. They're hanging around. But, yeah, I think this poll is so irrelevant compared to about a month ago when it was pre-playoff rankings, but I know it's still some good fodder and something people like to chew on. And look, it's also a big deal. Like Houston's back in the top 25 now. I mean, I don't know how long they're going to hang around there, but that's the second time now that they've appeared, and their previous stay was not very long. But they're there. And North Texas, obviously, that was huge for them to be ranked in the AP top 25.
It's not even just 25. They're at 22, which is right there with James Madison.
Which is incredible for them. And so there are things like that, your what do they call it, your record books and those types of things. Still cool to get ranked and to have streaks or to be in there for the first time in a long time, like in the case of a North Texas where it goes back decades and decades. So, I think you've got your customary, here's the group of 6 teams that we don't quite know how to sort or to put them any higher. We would take like guns to heads to do that. So you get that 20 through 25, just chock full of JMU and North Texas and Tulane there.
And a Big 12 in Missouri at 23.
Yeah.
So just a thought, it doesn't, because they have their own business to take care of it. Fight on going, hey, if Michigan beats Ohio State and USC does beat Oregon, USC owns the tiebreaker against Michigan. Just that's again.
So there is a bit more.
You're stepping on some glue with your shoe and it won't come off.
So there is a bit more parity potential in the Big Ten, but it will take a group of upsets to make it happen. It does feel like that's the most clear cut. You feel pretty good about, hey, which conference championship game would you predict right this very second? I think you're saying either that one with Indiana, Ohio State, or you're saying Tech and BYU seem like they're almost guarantees. Now Cincinnati or USC or whoever step up, Michigan, step up and make that not the case, but that does look like the case right now. But yeah, there are ways that could change. And look, in the game, I don't care what the records are. It's Michigan, Ohio State. Crazy things can happen and have happened in the past. So entirely possible more craziness ensues no matter how good the Buckeyes look.
By the way, what was the score at halftime? A&M in South Carolina, 30-3. There's a game or a team or two inside that list right there, whether it's the college football rankings or that one. Maybe it won't be one of those like, oh, my God, kamikaze 30-3, but somebody will find themselves this weekend, holy blank, what's going on? And we'll see what happens. That's, again, why they play the game.
Last thing I'll say on is a handful of Texas teams as well. You got A&M obviously up there. You got Texas Tech inside the top 10. You've got Texas still hanging around. You got North Texas and now Houston as well.
5 of them.
Yeah, 5 teams from Texas in this top 25, a fifth of the poll.
All right, so there we are with the AP top 25 and the college football rankings release will come tonight. There's 2, 3 left. It will be after the first weekend of December, which is the conference championship week. The one banger, do you have that, Brandon? There's only one banger this week. It is this one that we just mentioned a minute ago. The only game with both teams ranked inside the top 25. That one, Southern Cal, USC, the Trojans, they don't like it when I don't think Roger Dodger can tell me or fight on. They don't like Southern Cal. I think it sounds pretty cool. Against Oregon is the only game between 2 top 25 teams this week in college football. The only one. All right, when we come back, Craig Smoak and Off the Radar, we do appreciate you.
Well, by the CFP rankings, because Missouri, Oklahoma is a top 25
well, there you go.
game.
Yeah, there. Yeah, you would. I'm trying to think. Missouri's not in the top 25 AP, are they?
No, they are in the AP top 25. They're in that group with Tulane and North Texas
you're right.
and JMU.
I forgot to bang it on this one. I was wrong. My fault. There's two of them. That's right, Oklahoma, Missouri, as OU continues what we thought about a month ago was going to be the impossible run. And they still have work to do against Missouri. When we come back, we'll have Craig Smoak and Off the Radar. Paul, I put the link back up, if you wouldn't mind, on your Arizona State menu. I didn't get a chance to look at it. I know it's up there, but I didn't get a chance to read it. But it was fun. That was so fun and unique.
I will look. I'll have Andrew put up a poll here in the next couple of days of what school I should do next, and I'll let him pick that. And then I will do. Andrew's asked me to keep it to 6 items per school.
Please.
Look, you cannot stem the creative process. Like it flowed. And I fully intended to keep it a little shorter. And then when I started looking up names, it all flowed.
It's got a lot of popular names out of Arizona State. Yeah. It makes sense. And they got great food there too. When we come back Off the Radar around the corner, we'll also have we'll have John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist and more. And this is 365 Sports. Got an email today from Joshua Caldwell. He is owner of Don Humidor and Coffee Beans just off of Valley Mills in the Town West Shopping Center. And their website is finally up and running. It's been a while. They've had a couple of quirks that they've dealt with. DonHumidorWaco.com. Fully functional website. Please let everyone know that's you, that they're live. And, oh, by the way, there's a coupon code. Retired stockbroker Kim Coulter, John Peterson, among others who smoke cigars. The coupon code is Smoky, SMOKEY, at checkout to receive a full 25% off the entire cart that you put in by going to DonHumidorWaco.com. I can even get that percentage off too. At the moment, you again, that's for you, the audience, Smoky, SMOKEY, and a 25% off the entire cart discount if you use that code word. Also excited to serve more than just the people in the Waco or Central Texas area. That's why the website is there. You've been asking for it. It's there. DonHumidorWaco.com.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
too.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. Special is subject to credit approval and membership eligibility. Visit GencoFCU.org. Member NCUA.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
Welcome back into 365 Sports. Just join us. We'd love it if you please hit that like and subscribe button. Always appreciate the support regardless. And glad to be with you for another segment. And it's a good day to be a West Virginia Mountaineer. They've got the most high-profile sports media face arguably in the country right now, and one Pat McAfee. Polarizing, certainly a word that you can use to describe McAfee among many others, but there's no doubt that he brings in eyeballs and he shines a light like no other on West Virginia and West Virginia Mountaineers and West Virginia football. And today on his show, a pretty cool moment and a very big commitment for Rich Rodriguez as 4-star offensive lineman Kevin Brown committed to the Mountaineers for the class of 2026. He did so after being committed to Penn State, which in the fallout of James Franklin's firing would stand, of course. It's just logical that they would perhaps be losing some recruits, and we've seen some of the attrition already taking place. But the 4-star offensive tackle on the McAfee show, and I don't know, I didn't get to see the segment. Was he purposely recreating the little girl in front of the burning building meme?
Like yeah.
Because that's exactly what it looks like.
I think that's what he's trying to do.
Okay, I figured as much because that's exactly what it looks like. So without having seen it live, I didn't know if that was mentioned or not, but that's immediately what I thought of was the creepy smiling little girl with the burning house in the background, a little arsonist picture. But he's burning a couch, as is just the most brilliant way to make your commitment known to West Virginia on the Pat McAfee show, no less. So I don't know how he could have been more West Virginia in this commitment. But yeah, 4-star offensive tackle. And according to ESPN, I don't know about like their rankings versus everybody else's, but the highest ranked signee for West Virginia, it says in at least 15 years, 6'5", 265 from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, had been committed to the Nittany Lions for over a year before the James Franklin firing. His dad is former West Virginia offensive lineman Tim Brown. He also had finalist North Carolina and Ohio State. So some pretty big suitors there. And yes, set a couch on fire outside the family home. So very, very cool and a big time commitment for Rich Rod. And I'll tell you what, man, young Scotty Fox, Scotty doesn't know, but I think he does. I think they know they got a good little player in the freshman, and Scotty Fox Jr. getting some O-line help. Get that there as quickly as possible. But even though they're still towards the bottom of the rankings, I mean, they had that Arizona State game in the crosshairs. That could have easily have been their third straight win, fell short. So after wins over Houston on the road and then beating up Colorado, they did lose. And so now they are officially not going to be in the postseason. They needed to win out to get to 6 wins. But I think with what they've done down the stretch, they've at least sparked something, a couch for one.
No, this was
great.
But
they've got some mojo going on.
The only way it could have been more West Virginia is if he did this coming up out of a coal mine.
Yeah,
with a coonskin cap on.
I don't watch that show. I'm not saying it. I know it's popular, but there's a lot of things during the day. I just don't have time for it, unless it's like the Masters that was starting. But I did because I saw the note about Kiffin, which again we said that not much was really done, said or whatever, other than he denied the deadline.
He continued his troll job.
This was fantastic. This was great. What a weekend or what a day for West Virginia. And this wasn't the only thing, because right after he committed and he did all that and burned the couch, they had Rich Rodriguez came on as a guest.
Yeah, I mean, really well-produced show today for Mountaineers fans for sure. And I think that it's a very cool tie-in to have that they are taking full advantage of there with McAfee, as they should. They'd be stupid not to. So, very cool moment for West Virginia. Haven't had a lot of big splashes in recruiting, but that was as big of a splash as you could possibly get today. So that was very cool. By the way, on the Lane Kiffin thing, because we've kind of talked about that, do we all believe he's trolling and this is the greatest troll job ever and he's going to announce that he's staying at Ole Miss and then throw middle fingers at LSU and Florida?
I do feel like he's going to stay at Ole Miss.
We all feel that way?
Yeah,
I do too. Okay.
I have a top 5 about it today.
Okay.
If you look at this, and somebody said this, if you look at this 10, 15 years ago, he's not staying at Ole Miss. What he's done there makes them as relevant as pretty much anybody else.
But, I mean, you got your Trinidad Chamblises and your Kawan Lacey's. I mean, you're not lacking in talent and not lacking the ability to bring talent there.
I think Trinidad Chambliss is out of eligibility after this year.
I just mean you can get talent there.
But then he has Austin Simmons coming back.
Right.
In that – I know that you can theoretically, he could take all these people and drop them in Baton Rouge if you wanted to, or in Gainesville. But you also don't have to do that.
Right.
You could just stay where you are and keep going where you are, because those other two are rebuild jobs. Even if you do, take as much as you can, best from all worlds, and drop it into those cities, you're already pretty much where you want to be.
Yeah, I think he's setting this up. He is the master troll. I think he's setting it up to just have like fireworks going off behind him, like Ricky Bobby, just like some crazy scene where he pledges Ole Miss for life.
I don't know if anyone's changed their persona or sometimes what you think of him compared to 5 years ago than him.
I think also there's a part of him that loves that he's getting his family free private jet trips.
Yeah.
And these two SEC rivals are spending money trying to convince him to go there, and he's not going to do it.
Yeah. So there you go with that. We're not going to have time to get into the Big Ten trying to destroy college football today. We can probably talk about that tomorrow.
Because
I do want to mention that we are going to talk about that at some point, the latest offer from Tony Petitti. But I did have one other college football note, and then I will get to a little bit of NFL. But Army-Navy is right around the corner. That game's still sacred. Everything else falling to rot in hell in college football, the way some people react. It feels that way sometimes. All the traditions getting thrown to the wayside. In some cases, that's true. But Army-Navy, that tradition is still going strong, although that's been kind of attacked in ways like the date they're going to play, or do they have their own day and all those things. But one tradition that's maintained itself over these last several years that is very unique to them and is very cool is the battle of the uniforms between Army and Navy. And so today we started to get some previews and some looks at what they're going to be donning. And I think we've got Navy debuting theirs to start off with here.
For over 250 years, the United States Navy has ruled the seas as a relentless force of power and freedom. USS Constitution was the spark that ignited a legacy of dominance that surges across every ocean today. Six frigates forged a nation's strength upon the open sea, and their spirit endures in every sailor who carries their creed. Don't give up the ship.
I don't know why, even to this day, that is the most emotional thing. My father, as an Air Force Naval Academy graduate, I get more fired up for that game than you can't even imagine.
Well, they know how to debut some uniforms. That was one hell of a production there. And so there you go. Last week, Army did debut theirs. We'll look at that in a second. But, let's look at Navy's here. There you go. Celebrating 250 years of the enduring strength and legacy of America's naval forces. The uniforms pay tribute to the Constitution, the USS Constitution, one of 6 original frigates, is that the right word?
Yep.
Of the U.S. Navy. I know he said it, but I just wanted to make sure. The world's oldest commissioned warship that is still afloat and the uniforms contain several homages to the Constitution. On the helmets, you saw like the copper, and that is a nod to the role that metal played in the history of the Constitution, which was nicknamed Old Ironsides. The ship's hulls were sheathed in copper, and there was a 1925 pennies campaign, according to ESPN, that later helped fund its restoration. There's 2 shades of navy. There's a washed shade from the original Navy uniforms that represents the faded blue hue of sailors' coats, and a nautical blue that symbolizes the ship's hull color. So, like, they just go so in depth with these uniforms. We could do like the next hour on just the Navy, like intricacies of their uniforms. But there they are, the 250th anniversary of the USS Constitution, or the tribute to the USS Constitution. And so there you go with that. And that's just very, very cool stuff there. And then Army last week had unveiled theirs. And there you go with the Knights. This will defend, and they went out and are paying tribute to the Army's 250th birthday. So a lot of 250th going on both sides, but for different reasons. That 250th birthday is July 4th of next year. So 2026 is when that will take place. So that's a nod to that. They are paying tribute to the 250th birthday, features a marble base color on the jersey and pants, a nod to the marble headstones at Arlington National Cemetery. The numbers and typography are themed on the United States Constitution with hints of purple, which was originally used for the military badge for merit in the Revolutionary War, and now the color of the Purple Heart. And so, again, the silver helmets include an S pontoon emblem running through the center, a nod to their status as the tip of the spear for the country's armed forces, as well as the U.S. Army seal on the sides. Like, these things are so inspired and intricate and like incredible. Like, this is the uniform showdown in sports, and like just all of the details, you can tell that they take an entire year to figure out like how can we possibly top ourselves here.
But military historians really do.
Oh, they love that.
An unbelievable job. And if you've ever been on an actual like guided tour on like a naval vessel or some kind of historic Army base or site, like that doesn't surprise. Like it sounds like when you were reading the Navy one in particular, it sounded like I'm walking through the tour.
Right.
Like when I was in Hawaii a couple of years ago and going, out to Pearl Harbor and looking at all the ships and, seeing where they, signed the peace agreement and all these different things and all the details that the military goes into to make sure in those moments, like when they did them, that history would remember it and how it echoes through time. So yeah, I love it. We have a couple of our mini helmets that we got that were like special Army Navy helmets. These right up, I don't think you can see them on camera, but there's some right above. There's one right above me that's a really sweet Navy helmet. Then we have an Army one that I think is the
well, that was from the Waco Recruiting Company. That's
no. We have an Army, like a special Army one from a couple years ago that was really great. So yeah, they're the best. Like everybody else's like one-off game uniforms that you wear, you're all trying real hard.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
You are like Army and Navy are kicking your butt.
Yeah.
All right, and so I typically don't have all college news in this segment, but it's one of those types of news. Oh yeah, and so I'll make sure this is not all college. We're just saying the Cowboys won last night. So anyways, there you go. There's things off the radar.
No, and they did look good.
No, you know what though about that? There was so much overreaction to beating the shittiest Raiders team.
Yeah,
my gosh, are they terrible? But it was a win, and there was a lot of emotions. Let's say that. There's a lot of emotions with losing a teammate last week. That was obviously horrific news, and they were reeling from that these last few days. So they went out to Vegas and beat up the Raiders. That was great, but I just saw a lot of overreaction to look how good they look. And I'm like, do you know how bad the Raiders are?
My buddy texts me, and he texts me during the games, and Smoak didn't even text during the game last night because there was no reason to.
Well, it was also no reason.
There was no reason to text. Usually, like these games are exciting, but the Raiders had a 3-0 lead, and that was the only okay, so what? But the Cowboys didn't really make any mistakes because the Raiders didn't make them. The offensive line of the Raiders is as bad as I've ever seen an NFL team have. All these things. So it was a good team to play with essentially a new starting lineup on defense. But guess what? you don't get to play them every week for the rest of the year.
Now,
it gets tougher.
I will say this, that they have a lot of players who did not even play last night, who have been playing, that aren't playing now, that makes them better because of the cavalry plus the trades they've made. It'll be interesting to see how they move forward.
Yeah, Quentin Williams was good in his debut, right? So that was a nice sign.
He was a dude.
Right, that looked like it was something that may pay off for them.
He's a hell of a player. Yep.
But, yeah, the Raiders are – I mean, Pete Carroll there's no way they can bring him back for another year at this rate. They are just so bad. And I don't imagine Tom Brady and company are wanting to just drag this thing out. They want to win. And, man, I mean, if there is anything going wrong for West Virginia, it's alum Geno Smith is taking several steps back. They are awful, but that was a nice win for the Cowboys, so there's a few things off the radar.
He has no chance, absolutely no chance, and the Cowboys have beefed up their pass rusher and pressure too. It still comes down to the secondary if they can get any better. When we come back, we'll have John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, his thoughts about the NFL stretch drive, and this is 365 Sports, and Marco's Pizza. So last night I got home, and normally on Mondays during the core of football season, there's a lot of things I have to get done to set myself up for the rest of the week. Well, the high school team I cover midway's out of the postseason playoffs. And so I just sat there and I was like, God, there's a lot of other things I can do. So I did some business work, and then I was not really that hungry, and I was going to order a pizza. I decided not to. I ordered from DoorDash from P.F. Chang's. But I'm ordering a pizza tonight. I'm ordering Marco's Pizza. And just because it's a pizza place, that's not all they have. They have more. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza is the fastest growing pizza brand in America, and maybe one near you. 5 in the Waco area. Bob Mock is the owner. He loves sports, involved in a lot of sports around the area, but also knowing the pizza business. He grew up in it like I did back when I was in my last year of high school and college. It's a great profession, and you have an opportunity to own a store or franchise. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, and also, from what I saw a couple of weeks ago, owner of a brand new, beautiful SUV, joins us on 365 Sports. John, you can talk about that if you want, but let's start with your alma mater is a mess. Again, Mac Rhodes out, at least on interim leave, but he's going to be out. And then, of course, Aranda, the football program, is a mess. How would you suggest in those big high-dollar donor meetings that you're in, is what do they do to fix it?
Well, first of all, I can't believe you fell for that. My Twitter account got hacked 3 weeks ago, and the guy that hacked it put all that stuff out there. I haven't been able to look at it, touch it, and I've got a lawyer working on it. I've got a lobbyist working on it, and I'm thinking, my goodness, how many people actually think I could afford an Escalade? But it's after I cashed in all that Bitcoin that I can't even spell Bitcoin, much less know anything about it. Baylor's going to have to start over, and a lot of people I've talked to really like Jeremiah Dickey when he was at Baylor, came with Mac Rhodes, and he's done a good job at Boise State. Jared Mosley, who I know from when he was at Texas Sports Hall of Fame and was a pretty good softball first baseman. Jared's done a tremendous job at North Texas. He hired Eric Morris, one of the hottest young coaches in college football. And I know, who's the guy at West Virginia from Baylor?
Not from Baylor, but the Ren Baker.
Ren Baker, yeah.
Does he have a connection to Baylor?
He has a connection to Mac.
He was at Missouri.
Oh, to Mac.
When Mac was at Missouri. He was at North
Texas.
Texas.
Mac had a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
He had a cup of coffee in Missouri. I never understood why he went from U of H to Missouri to Baylor in such a short period of time. And I'll say this about Mac Rhodes. He did a good job here for U of H, and I think looking back at what he faced at Baylor, raising money for buildings and NIL and the portal and the greatest, he hired Aranda, and although it's gone down the toilet, giving up 50, I've never seen a Baylor defensive performance worse than the one I saw Saturday night. It's like they were playing with linemen and that's it. There were no linebackers and no defensive backs. The way they were just getting trucked. But, and it's too bad because now maybe Baylor will win the rest of their games. I would like everybody, I was lulled into a false sense of security with UCF. Turns out Central Florida is just pathetic. And that Utah game, that maybe they'll bounce back and beat Arizona. Probably not. I think they could beat Houston, but Houston's playing for its best season in a long time. So a new AD, if he doesn't hire a new coach, but first you've got to get AD. And they need to get Mac, I guess he'll resign and move on and get going. Because if you don't, it's not just the head coaches that get gobbled up, it's the assistant coaches as well. And Baylor's never let money stand in the way of the decisions. You know, Art Prowse was one of the highest paid coaches in football, and Aranda got that great extension after the greatest season. But, you know, all the Mac Rhodes stuff, the rumors, speculation and everything, it's bad for the school, bad for him, bad for the CFP, and it's time just to move on and get with it.
Yeah, John, I worry that they're going to drag their feet a little bit and not view this as an opportunity and see it more of as a problem?
Well, it is a problem, but you can solve the problem by getting things worked out with Mac. Let him resign, and you already have a list of possible AD candidates like Dickey, like Mobley, Jared Mosley, and like Ren Baker, or whatever his name is, and anybody else. Somebody told me that involved with the program over there, things have not been the same since Dickey left. Now, I don't know Dickey. I don't know squat. I just know people I trust seem to like him. But I know I've talked to people at the Hall of Fame who thought very, very highly of Jared Mosley, the way he treated people there, what he did for the Hall. He did everything he could do. And then North Texas hired him. He worked his way up to the AD. And, I don't know what you guys think. I have talked to Eric Morris the last 2 years at the coaches convention. He used to be at the University of Houston. And I saw the Sam Leavitt stuff today. He may transfer. You know where he committed originally? To Eric Morris, the offensive coordinator at Washington State. John McTeer committed to Eric Morris. So did Cam Ward, and went with him from San Antonio Carter Ward to Washington State. And he helped recruit Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes, who he's really tight with. And then he's got Drew Mestemaker, one of the best passers in the country, who's a freshman. If you get Morris, there's a good time you're going to get Drew Mestemaker, who people are saying looks like a big-time NFL prospect. And he's got a freshman running back who scored 5 touchdowns Sunday night. And Mattress Mac, who went to Texas and played on the football team, but actually graduated from North Texas, was invited to give a speech to fire up North Texas before they play here against Rice on Saturday. And so I thought that was hilarious. North Texas is really trying to raise money to give big raises to Eric Morris and Drew Mestemaker.
Yeah, and then they got that running back that you talked about, a young man from Oklahoma. I'm blanking on his name right now, but I just was looking over. They got Wyatt Young, a receiver as well. But, yeah, they're going to have to pony up some money to keep all that together. That's going to be really, really difficult for them. Baylor job opening up or not. But there's a lot to sort through, John. That's for sure. I did want to touch on last night, the Cowboys getting a very emotional and much-needed win in light of the tragic passing of a teammate last week and just all that came with that. And, John, I was sitting there on the one hand, glad for them, glad for the fans, and particularly the players and coaches. But I couldn't help but look over on the other sideline and just go like, oh, my gosh, the Raiders are absolutely awful.
That is a great point, Craig. And I've watched all the shows this morning, and I was glad that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman didn't try to act like the Cowboys are a playoff team, because they know how utterly pathetic the Raiders are. But on all the ESPN shows this morning and the NFL Network show, all they talked about was the Cowboys, and they left out that little fact that the Raiders are absolutely an abomination. Let's see the Cowboys play offense like that against another team. But they are getting some players back. Quinnen Williams looked really good. They've got a lot of good going on for them. Maybe they'll win enough games and get a wild card berth, but people kind of got to pump the brakes before they think the Cowboys are going to the playoffs after they obliterated one of the worst teams in the NFL.
John, what I saw last night was the pieces of a Cowboy team that if you really, really double down on it and fix the holes could be better based on the way that they seem to sync together pretty quickly. But to think that they're going to go out and rattle off 5 wins in a row and make the playoffs is insane. Given
that's
who
great point, Paul. Yeah. Great point. George Pickens is auditioning. He's auditioning with other teams for that big contract. I'd be shocked if Jerry Jones can pay 2 wide receivers the kind of money Pickens is going to want. I certainly would not pay Pickens because he's behaving and playing well in a contract year. You can't ignore everything else that happened in his career with the Steelers. But the fact is, Cowboys did play great. Dak played great. It was, I thought of a new adjective, Dak-tacular. She was spectacular. And I hope they do. Do you think it is a great draft for edge rushers? And what do they need? They need an edge rusher. It's going to be a good draft for corners. All I know is next year the Cowboys need to focus that draft defense, and more defense.
I'll tell you this, though. Jerry, when it comes to skilled players and playmakers like this, he would rather lose a body part than give someone like Pickens, even though you're right, it's dangerous. He freaking loves playmakers. I think this is going to make him really, really tough to let Pickens walk.
Well, if he does, it gives two receivers that kind of money. It's going to hurt them somewhere else, probably on defense, and they're going to be able to score getting another receiver. But he's Jerry Jones. He's going to do what he wants, and he is the general manager. And it's going to be hard for him to fail picking an edge rusher because there's so many good ones. The best one capable of being the first overall pick is Miami's Harold Payne right now. But at the end, Mendoza is going to be the first overall pick. And if the Titans get the first pick, they're going to try to make that into a multi-pick deal over the next 2 years to help them rebuild quicker.
Who has been, in your opinion, and I know the Commanders suck and we can't ever enjoy life with them because of just they can't do anything back-to-back years. What team, in your opinion, is wow, you can't believe they're that bad?
I can't believe the Raiders are that bad. I thought that when Geno Smith was brought in by Pete Carroll, and Geno last season threw for more yards than any time in his career, I thought it was going to be a smooth transition. But they say that Chip Kelly is paid $6 million a year to be the offensive coordinator. He and Carroll have some philosophical differences. They also have some talent differences. Last night, Ashton Jennings get 6 carries in the first half? That was preposterous. So I think the Raiders, I didn't expect them to make the playoffs, but I thought they might win 6 games. Now they might not win another one.
Josh Allen had 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns. There's 3 times that's done in NFL history. He has done it twice, and I think Otto Graham was the other one back like in the 50s. How unique of a player is he, John? And we appreciate your time today.
Well, first of all, I'm going to see him here on Thursday night when they play the Texans. And last year, he came in here and the Texans beat him, and he had the worst game since his rookie year because the Texans have a good defense. But the thing about Allen, the Texans need the Bills to have a letdown, like they beat the Chiefs, then they have a letdown against Miami and stink it up. Then they bounce back and beat the Buccaneers. Now they need to have another letdown. I don't think they will. I think he will lead the Bills to a victory because he was embarrassed last year to lose here to the Texans in a game the Bills were favored to win. And I still, of my 2 Super Bowl picks, Detroit and Buffalo, I feel better about the Bills right now than I do the Lions.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you, John.
Thank you, guys.
That's John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist. And I saw that car. I thought it was one of his freebies from Mattress Mac. And he's hacked.
Yeah, no, he hasn't posted anything. I guess, he's been hacked. And that's unfortunate. He's got a huge following on Twitter, like 100,000 plus people. So, I hope he gets that sorted out. And I know he loves being on there. So that's unfortunate. I do have to admit something. This past weekend, I went and bought Sunday Ticket. I could not take any more Chiefs. I could not take any more Bills and any combination of them with Tony Romo. I can't do it anymore. I cannot listen.
Turn down the sound.
But it's always the Bills or the Chiefs. Like every Sunday, it's the only option I have, and I'm sick of it. And I finally go, and I was watching all these other. I don't play fantasy football, but it's also not full price right now because there's only like 2 months left. So it's actually somewhat much more affordable. But it was like the 15th, what felt like weekend in a row where it was the Chiefs were the only game I had to watch. And meanwhile, Shador's playing And like there were a couple of other games that were going crazy, and I just felt like a kid, like I want to have fun watching something different. And I just finally said, what's the price of this thing at this point? And I go, you know what? Screw it. I'm getting it. And I got Sunday ticket for the first time in my life so that I could just have some options on Sundays.
You could have called them and negotiated with them.
I don't care about that.
Back in the day, you could. Now it's YouTube TV. But
yeah,
but it's like $35 for the rest of the season, right, or something like that.
It's a little bit more. It's like per month, I think. It's that.
So like right now, you've gotten like
it's like $100-something for the rest of the season, but all the games available to you. So I was like, you know what? I can't be forced to the same two teams every single week, and especially when the Shador thing was going on, I was like, I want to watch this. I have no way of watching it, so I won't give him credit for it. But he was part of the reason as to why I was like, that and just Chiefs Bills fatigue.
Since I don't have YouTube TV currently, I just watch the Red Zone, which I rather enjoy.
Which that's part of it.
Yeah, that's part of the sports package that, I mean, obviously ESPN owns it, Hulu, ESPN, it's all the same thing now. So I get the Red Zone, so I haven't felt the need to go back over. And when all this is over this year and we see if Hulu adds a multi-view version for next season, then I'll not go to YouTube TV, or whatever they do. I don't know why. I actually texted with Bob Thompson the other day about multi-view, and I'm like, why? It was right before they made the agreement too. It was Friday night. I said, Bob, I'm just curious. Why would Hulu, like if ESPN Disney is mad about this, why would they not just end YouTube TV's hold on sports right now and throw their own multi-view up? Because they have it on their ESPN app.
Yeah.
They have the technology. They could just throw it over there. It would take a day. Like you just go to the nerds and be like, put it on this one.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, I don't know. There's nothing restricting them, because I thought maybe there's rights issues. He's like, nope, nothing restricting them. And then literally an hour later, it was like ESPN and YouTube TV have ended the war.
Yeah, I didn't care about any of that when making my decision. It was $62 for the rest of the season versus the original price of $500+. So safe to say I got a deal for these last couple months, and I got some options on Sundays now. So first-time purchaser, I highly doubt this will be a regular thing, but we'll see. We'll see how much because I enjoyed, even for like the 3 hours that I had, the ability to just go like bang, bang, bang across several games rather than just like, this is what CBS has and this is all you have is this game alone. I couldn't take it anymore. So hat tip to Shador and Chiefs fatigue and Tony Romo annoyance for getting me to purchase Sunday ticket.
I get it. It's like now you know what Cowboys haters have dealt with forever. It's always the Chiefs and the Bills, and the Cowboys, of course, were always on no matter, and they will be because of how much the eyeballs they bring to the table. When we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5, the wheel spin. We'll have quizzes and also the poll results. This is 365 Sports.
Flex Shopper is designed for anyone who wants the freedom to get new products right away, whether it's electronics, furniture, or appliances, even without enough cash upfront or top-tier credit.
A secret, I travel internationally every year. I struggle with insomnia both at home and especially in hotels. This was life-changing. It's called Fly Kit. My favorite aspect of the Fly Kit is it tells you when to sleep.
Unforgettable experiences with Forest Travel. Experience the pinnacle of luxury travel with our exclusive global selection. From secluded villas to elegant train voyages, each moment is tailored for sophisticated exploration. Forest Travel.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5. Brought to you by Flag Anthem. Go to flaganthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Well, let's talk about Lane Kiffin. This might be clickbait today, but I don't care. It is the hot topic in college football about what he's doing. He said earlier today on Pat McAfee that he's been given no ultimatum and that he loves it at Ole Miss. So what's he going to do? I don't know. But let's break down his next moves. Number 5, go to LSU. Here he is eating crawfish, which you can get easily in Oxford, Mississippi, but maybe not the same as you can in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This crawfish is metaphorical. This is essentially a big stack of money that he'd be going to for LSU. Let's weigh the pros and cons. The pros, it is easier to win a national championship at LSU than perhaps anywhere but 2 other places in the country, given the fact that 3 of their last 4 coaches have done it. It is not an easy thing in the sense of things that are easy, but when you compare it to winning a national championship at Ole Miss where you are, it is certainly easier to get players to LSU than it is to Ole Miss. The cons would be it's kind of a mess right there at LSU, and the leadership right now, do you think you can overcome that and deal with it? Because they're always going to have their hands in whatever you're doing. Number 4, go to Florida. And see there, he's got a little jean shorts. He's thrilled. He's so happy that he's got a little jean shorts on. He idolizes Steve Spurrier. He wears a visor because of Steve Spurrier. So it shouldn't be a surprise that the Gators are of interest when this job opens. However, there are some knocks to it, considering that the only 2 coaches who've ever really won there historically are Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer. Now, while they had some good years in the past, in the old days, Steve Spurrier is what made Florida into a blue blood, and Urban Meyer solidified that with the 2 national championships that he won. Now, I think if you're going to leave and go to a place, LSU is not a total rebuild. Florida is almost a total rebuild based on what they have. They are 3-7 right now with some really good recruits that there's no guarantee you're going to keep them on the roster because especially even for DJ Lagway, who struggled, there are some guys like Dallas Wilson and Jaden Baugh who are going to get fat stacks thrown at them and probably already are. So Florida is probably the longest build you have, but could be one hell of a reclamation project if you did it, given how long it's been since Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow were there. Number 3, see if the NFL wants you back. I think this is unlikely, but who knows? Like, what if the Titans decide, you know what, Lane Kiffin's our dude? You never know what's going to happen, but that to me would be an option, especially if you're just ultimately going to do what we all think he's going to do and make the most money possible, which the NFL probably isn't that. And given, even though it was a long time ago, how badly it ended with the Raiders, this is not likely. But hey, the Pards do clout for everybody at some point. Number 2, start a podcast. He should probably just do this anyway. He's on podcasts regularly. Matt Rule's doing one. I think Lane Kiffin's podcast would be incredible. By the way, in the next 3 cartoons, his visor, and this is ChatGPT, just says Kiffin. And it's kind of appropriate because that's who he's looking out for right now, as he should be. This guest is obviously Nick Saban. He and Nick Saban on the pod. That would be fun. That's one of his guests, Theo Vaughn. He's been on that podcast a lot. He can go and do all those things, but start a podcast. Wherever you are, start a podcast. I just want to throw that out there for Lane Kiffin. And I think he's done one in the past too, but he's not doing one right now.
Yeah, he might have.
He's done one in the past. Like start a podcast, start a new podcast, whatever it is. Number 1, stay at Ole Miss and keep on winning and count your fat stacks of cash. Ole Miss was a rebuild job when you got to it. But guess what? You've built it now. You're a playoff contender. And should you win your next couple of games, there's a chance you might even be in the SEC title game. There's no guarantee that's going to happen at LSU or Florida. But at Ole Miss, you are on the track. It has been built. Now you just have to take those next steps. I'm not sure leaving is the best thing. And ultimately, I don't think he's going to leave. I think he's going to stay at Ole Miss, and I think he's going to use LSU and Florida and sending his family all over Hill and Yon to get the most money he can out of Ole Miss. But I think he stays there, counts this fat sack of cash, and maybe we can start selling Kiffin visors just that say Kiffin on them. Would be a good idea. Anyway, also the Saturday morning cartoon that I just invented would do well. It would do very well. Just Lane Kiffin on adventures. Maybe he has like a sidekick that's an animal.
Oh, yeah. No, he's got his dog, Juice.
Oh,
Juice,
yeah, he's got Juice the dog. Yeah, he's got Juice the dog. Juice can talk. Oh, yeah.
It's on.
Oh, yeah, that's on. I'm going to go, like, if I ever meet him, I'm going to pitch this to him. Lane Kiffin, Saturday morning cartoon. Well, that's going to do it for the top 5. The carnival begins now. The wheel spinning. And let's see what we got. Ooh, we are right on the thing.
Just pick one.
Okay. If you can remember, what was the first college football game you went to?
I went to?
Yeah.
95 national championship, Nebraska beating Florida. I think that was probably it. I don't recall going to any games prior to that. I would have been like young, like 10 or something like that, maybe something like around that point. So, yeah, I don't recall going to any games before that, unless it was like some random SFA game or something that I just don't recall whatsoever. But, yeah, I think it was the 95 national championship, Tommy Frazier, and that ass whooping of Danny Werfel and Spurrier and the Gators in Arizona. Not bad, huh?
Yeah.
Not a bad game to start off with.
That's you kind of just put that to sleep and then don't go to another one.
Yeah. January 1st, 1986 was my first one. The Cotton Bowl, Texas A&M beat Auburn and Heisman Trophy winner Bo Jackson. From that day on, I loved Bo Jackson. And even though they lose the game, but I was fascinated by him. Here's what I remember about it. Everybody talking about Bo Jackson, my dad and all the rest of my family being thrilled that A&M stuffed him, that being kind of the talk in the car ride home, and me freezing my absolute little giblets off because it was so damn cold.
Yeah. No, I've frozen my giblets off a few times too at the Cotton Bowl. Mine would have been as far as just going to the game, but I covered it. But it was my first real college football game. Would have been 82 Texas OU. Guy named Marcus Dupree in his debut, and then like the next year it was Edwin Simmons in his debut from Hawkins for UT. But that was my first big boy football game. I covered it. It was at the Cotton Bowl, and it was quite the scene, of course, with Texas OU.
Yeah, the Cotton Bowl very famously, for a state that is streaky with its cold weather, when it was played at the Cotton Bowl on New Year's Day, the weather was never good.
I was there for the Boston College-Houston game when Doug Flutie won the Heisman, and it was so cold my camera basically all but just fogged up. Had to sit in the car to kind of get it warmed up through the heater.
Yeah, I randomly came across this the other day, but Janet Jackson this past weekend performed at the Cotton Bowl. Like of all the venues in Dallas, it was for like the 100th United Way anniversary or something like that. So there was a reason for it, but it was like the Cotton Bowl. What are you doing at the Cotton Bowl, Janet?
Anything go down?
No.
Anything go down?
No, there was no boom flash.
Oh, no. Okay, yeah. Yeah,
I was
it took
at
me a
that Super
second.
Bowl.
I was at that Super Bowl, too. I was there watching a monitor in the tunnel when that whole thing happened. And I remember just everybody looking around each other like, did we just see what we just saw? I was like, yeah, I think we did.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap.
All the way back, driving, listening to the post game, they were like the discussion about that was remarkable.
No one ever asked Justin Timberlake, what was the plan there?
Right, yeah.
Like, what was the I know that was probably not the choreographed move.
It launched his career in a boob. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was
Chris Bartle. Smokey, your first game was the 1925 Army-Navy game.
Oh, gosh. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris.
You're
that was
a beautiful
awesome.
man.
All right, let's go
All right.
to the trivia questions. This college football stadium boasts the largest seating capacity in the U.S.
It's 1 or 4, right?
It's not. It's Kyle Field is getting to be 108,000 plus standing. I'm going to say Michigan.
I think it's Michigan.
I think it might be. I think they might be like 110 or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas,
but
A&M's
Beaver
like
Stadium
approaching.
is very underrated on its size too.
Yeah, I think it's Michigan.
All right, let's see. Michigan.
Boom.
Yeah. How much does it say?
Hail to the
107.
Yeah.
601. 107, 601.
A&M had 108,000 plus at that game that come back against South Carolina. All right. The big house.
Owned that.
Which of the inaugural 1876 National League teams can claim the very first home run in Major League Baseball history?
Shit, I don't have no idea. Philadelphia Athletics is it's the only one left, right? Well, I guess the
Reds and the White Sox are still there.
The Red Caps.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all technically still there. Red Sox, White Sox, Red.
Well, you guys pick one. Some good-looking logos.
Cincinnati Reds, yeah.
I think it's the Cincinnati Reds.
All right.
What the hell?
Chicago White Stockings.
Ross Barnes of the White Stockings hit baseball's first home run off of Cincinnati's Cherokee Fisher.
That's an old name right there, Cherokee Fisher.
A clean over-the-fence blast made history. Chicago Tribune wrote Barnes with 2 out.
No, wait. Let me do this.
No, you read too fast.
No.
Oh,
Barnes with 2 out made the finest hit of the game.
Yeah.
Straight down left field for a clean home run. As players have said,
you went into a different language.
That was how they
the old reporter.
No, at the end of it, the clean home run was like in English.
A clean home run.
Yeah.
As players have said, hitting their first home run is the greatest feeling in the universe.
I don't know about that.
Cool.
But I do think, did you ever hit a home run over the fence? Craig hit one time, and I think it was in Irving, where it was a launch shot that would have cleared the Green Monster if it had been in right field.
I had a couple in the league, and the second one, I pimped it a little bit. I did.
Was that the last one?
Yeah.
It's a good thing bat flips weren't as prevalent back then. I can only imagine what Little League's like nowadays with the bat flips.
My coach was mad, but I didn't like that nerd that was pitching to me.
No.
So I
get Craig doesn't like. I cried when I saw the ball launch off of Craig's bat. It was a monster shot. All right, there we are with that one. Is Lane Kiffin being truthful about staying, or is this a contract stunt?
71% say
Pinocchio
massive leverage play. He's lying, and 29% say he genuinely wants to stay.
God,
so. The leverage plays against all of them, though.
The thing is like it could be both, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is one where you could have said C, both. I think you probably could have had a fourth option as well of he's just trolling. Like he's just trolling, and I guess that would fall in with he genuinely wants to stay. But I think that's where all our heads are right now. So if he announces for LSU or Florida in the next few days, then gladly be wrong and all that. But yeah, I think at this point, if he doesn't stay at Ole Miss, then wow, you could not have thrown bigger middle fingers at that university than by doing it this way. So I have to give him the benefit of the doubt to think like, dude, not even you would do that. Like, even you got to be staying.
Yeah, even if he stays, it's still a massive leverage play. All right. In the world where Sam Leavitt leaves ASU Arizona State, which conference will he join in 2026? I'm going to say, believe it or not, I think he stays in the Big 12. I know that's the last that everyone agree with me.
That was the winner. I voted for SEC. And then the Big 10.
Well, he was going to go to Michigan State. So
he was at Michigan State.
Yeah,
he was there and then transferred. ACC with 14% beating. I guess that's probably a lot of people think that Miami will
right.
go,
yeah, of course. I mean, they've done that now 2-3 years in a row where they go just get like the top rated quarterback or 2 years in a row with Beck and Ward. So yeah, that would be the logical choice for them. But my question is, where's he going in the Big 12? Or do you think he's staying at Arizona State?
I think Texas Tech will get him.
No, that'd be a big middle finger to Will Hammond, unless he's hurt, and then you can't play him next year.
Here's the thing: he's hurt, and the prognosis on his knee is he's gonna miss at least the spring.
Right.
So Tech is in a position where they have to go get a quarterback.
Well, this year's shown them they need two at all times anyway.
So they're gonna have to get a quarterback, and a 1-year rental makes a lot of sense if you're gonna have to wait until maybe deep into fall practice before Will Hammond can even get out there. So. The injury gives them cover for it for sure. And here's how big time Texas Tech has gotten. Every single article I read about a guy potentially in transfer portal, they're listed.
Sure they are.
Well, they're the highest bidders.
Exactly. They're listed. So
they went and had the number one class last year, and there's no reason to believe with all like this was my point earlier was they're losing a massive amount of guys, Baron Morton and Caleb Douglas and Skyler Gale Howard and all those defensive lines. So they're going to have to go and recoup that. They can't just develop those guys at this point. Now they're also recruiting at a high level where they can develop those guys. And they got like LaDamian Guyton that'll come in the edge rush or the 5-star. So they'll have some of that too. But Yeah, they're going to have to go out there and get another top recruiting class to replace all this talent. I just I don't know. If he stays in the Big 12, I have to believe that's at Arizona State still.
Yeah, no, that's what I think. But you never know. I did see someone said that in the chat, and they said, no, we want Sorsby. So, but it's good conversation. I hope he stays in Tempe, Arizona.
Well, this would be a great weekend for Sorsby to show off his arm and show off what all he can do with a big challenge coming up this weekend to really turn things on its head against BYU. He'll need to for him to have a chance.
Paxton said, "How about Vanderbilt to replace Pavia?"
Okay, that's a great. I mean, I was trying to think earlier. Like Miami's obvious. Vanderbilt would make a lot of sense. I don't know about like how he fits in that offense necessarily. He's a good runner though, so I mean that's
Dame?
Yeah. I mean that's certainly possible.
Notre Dame,
CJ Carr, man.
Oh, that's right. He's a rock star. Yep.
Yeah, CJ Carr's good. LSU, I think in the SEC is a possibility.
I think that a Dillingham Leavitt package to LSU because Dillingham's there was like some rumors about him. I don't see him being able to I know he was at Auburn or whatever, but I just don't see him on a weekly basis with the LSU media. That just doesn't seem like a fit for Dillingham.
Oh, I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just don't see that, but who knows? Maybe he would go there and thrive. He's a hell of a coach.
I think he can overwhelm people with his personality. And if that doesn't mean that it won't be easy.
I think he'll struggle in Louisiana being the smartest person in the room at LSU. I'm not talking about
his number is 2.
No. Please don't ever do that. It's not even funny.
You really think I'm going to give out your number?
Yes, I do.
Oh, my
Sometimes
God.
you can't stop talking.
You're trying to unbury yourself.
No, I'm not trying to unbury myself. I'm just saying that the leadership in Louisiana, he's the smartest guy in the room.
When you're probably right there. Really good save. It's a great save.
Look, yes, the people running the state of Louisiana are idiots, and the people who are victims of
You've made that clear.
Right. Yeah.
Brandon Rowe, we have not mentioned your full name today. I don't think so. We should. Great job today. Garrett Ross, thank you, sir. Andrew Valade was here earlier, left. He'll be back with us tomorrow. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll have Zach Gelb. We will also have Tim Brando, and SFA football coach Kobe Carthel will join us. Among the Mojo rankings are out tomorrow.
And the Big Ten trying to kill college football.
Yeah, again. Thank you, Tony Petiti, for Craig Smoak, and for Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. We appreciate you. Good night, 365 Sports.